Also, BJP has started taking action against this case, sensing opportunity for both parties. Both UDF and BJP are saying that they will try to intensify their protest till the time there is going to be no action that is going to be taken in this case. The CPIM-led LDF, however, remain defiant and say that this is all a political vendetta against them. They say that since the UDF as well as BJP could not malign their image as far as the 2018 flood scam is concerned or the COVID mismanagement is concerned, this is all a ploy to defame the CM Pinarayi Vijayan and his party and thereby come to the seats of power. The UDF, however, do not seem to relent. They want their political fortunes to be revived. They want that CM Pinarayi Vijayan should resign and a court-monitored probe should be handled in this case. Ho gaya? And this probe should be handled. Yesterday there was a massive protest at Kozhikode and Trivandrum, and following this there's again a protest at Kerala Secretariat. Several leaders of Congress are expected to come in this event and speak against CM Pinarayi Vijayan. They are confident that CM Pinarayi Vijayan is involved in this gold crisis scam. They also, however, lament the slow probe that has been taken by the Customs and the Enforcement Directorate. They fear that since there are higher people
All right, so the Rajya Sabha polls, of course, for 16 seats across 4 states have started. In fact, we are expecting the poll results to be out at about 5 p.m. this evening, and this is extremely interesting. Let me go across to Alisha right now. Alisha, of course, Maharashtra happens to be the state where, which is generating maximum stories out of this election. Now, this is, of course, a pitted battle between the BJP and the MVA.
Well, of course, Nupur, it's after 2 decades where we can see a Rajya Sabha election in Maharashtra. Earlier, that was the election that happened was unopposed. But yes, at this point of time where there are 7 candidates that has been put forth, 1 from NCP, that is definitely NCP is going to win, where the ex-Union Minister Praful Patel has been put forth. And of course, the Congress, Imran Pratap Ghai, who has been known to be the close aide of Priyanka Vadra. But talking about Shiv Sena and BJP, where the Shiv Sena has placed 2 candidates. There are Sanjay Raut and Sanjay Pawar. So the question will be for Sanjay Pawar and Dhananjay Mahadik of BJP, because the two, of course, the BJP is already holding 106 MLAs, so they already have 106 votes for easily to get the 2 seats. But the question arises, and of course it's a litmus test for Maha Vikas Aghadi, because the Shiv Sena, who was already asked for the 3rd candidate, and they've been very confident enough. But let me show you the visuals in and around what is really happening here, because a short while back where Chief Minister of Maharashtra Uddhav Thackeray has already reached to this place, Vidhan Bhavan, and other ministers or the MLAs who has already been reaching here, and we can see all the senior leaders of Maha Vikas Aghadi or BJP who are still inside, because we know that it's an open ballot. So every MLA who've been casting their vote will show there to their party representative. Shiv Sena has already issued a whip to the party leaders, and then after the BJP has also had a meeting with their MLA at Taj President Hotel in a Cuff Parade. So the strategy has already been made, but more than 145, that is 50% of vote has already been conducted, has already been done in Vidhan Bhavan, and moreover it has to wait and watch who actually has been confident, because it's really a very prestigious battle for Maha Vikas Aghadi and BJP, because BJP has been showing us very confident over winning the 3rd seat, apart from Amit Montke and Piyush Goyal, but also they've been confident about Dhananjay Mahadik. But we have to wait and watch what the actual result will come by this evening.
भाइयों और बहनों, आज गुजरात गौरव अभियान में मुझे एक बात का विशेष गौरव हो रहा है और वो गौरव इस बात का हो रहा है कि मैंने इतने साल मुख्यमंत्री के रूप में काम किया, लेकिन कभी भी आदिवासी क्षेत्र में इतना बड़ा कार्यक्रम मेरे नसीब नहीं हुआ था। आज मुझे गर्व इस बात का हो रहा है कि गुजरात छोड़ने के बाद जिन जिन लोगों ने गुजरात को संभालने का दायित्व निभाया और आज भूपेंद्र भाई और सीआर की जोड़ी जिस उमंग और उत्साह के साथ नया विश्वास जगा रही है, उसी का परिणाम है कि आज मेरे सामने 5 लाख से भी अधिक लोग, इतना बड़ा विशाल, मुझे गर्व इस बात का होता है कि जो मेरे कालखंड में मैं नहीं कर पाया था, वो आज मेरे साथी कर पा रहे हैं और आपका प्यार बढ़ता ही जा रहा है और इसलिए मुझे सर्वाधिक गर्व हो रहा है। नवसारी की इस पावन धरती से मैं उनाई माता मंदिर को सिर झुका करके प्रणाम करता हूं। आदिवासी सामर्थ्य और संकल्पों की इस भूमि पर गुजरात गौरव अभियान का हिस्सा बनना, ये भी मेरे लिए अपने आप में गौरवपूर्ण बात है। गुजरात का गौरव बीते 2 दशक में जो तेज विकास हुआ है, सबका विकास है और इस विकास से पैदा हुई नई आकांक्षाएं हैं। इस गौरवशाली परंपरा को डबल इंजन की सरकार ईमानदारी से आगे बढ़ा रही है। आज मुझे 3,000 करोड़ रुपए से अधिक के प्रोजेक्ट का लोकार्पण, शिलान्यास और भूमि पूजन करने का अवसर मिला है। मैं भूपेंद्र भाई का, राज्य सरकार का आभारी हूं कि ऐसे इस पवित्र कार्य में जुड़ने के लिए आपने मुझे निमंत्रित किया। ये सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स नवसारी, तापी, सूरत, वलसाड सहित दक्षिण गुजरात के करोड़ों साथियों का जीवन आसान बनाएंगे। बिजली, पानी, सड़क, स्वास्थ्य, शिक्षा और हर प्रकार की कनेक्टिविटी, इसके ये प्रोजेक्ट्स, और वो भी विशेष रूप से हमारे आदिवासी क्षेत्र में हो, तब तो वो सुविधा, रोजगार के नए अवसरों से जोड़ेंगे। इन सारी विकास योजनाओं के लिए मैं आज इस क्षेत्र में मेरे सभी भाई बहनों को और पूरे गुजरात को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। भाइयों और बहनों, 8 साल पहले आपने अनेक अनेक आशीर्वाद दे करके, बहुत सारी उम्मीदों के साथ मुझे राष्ट्र सेवा की अपनी भूमिका को विस्तार देने के लिए आपने मुझे दिल्ली भेजा था। बीते 8 सालों में हमने विकास के सपने और आकांक्षाओं से करोड़ों नए लोगों, अनेकों नए क्षेत्रों को जोड़ने में सफलता प्राप्त की है। हमारा गरीब, हमारा दलित, वंचित, पिछड़ा, आदिवासी, महिलाएं, ये सभी अपना पूरा जीवन मूल जरूरतों को पूरा करने में बिता देते थे। ऐसे कालखंड थे। आजादी के इस लंबे इस लंबे कालखंड तक जिन्होंने सबसे अधिक सरकार चलाई, उन्होंने विकास को अपनी प्राथमिकता नहीं बनाया। जिस क्षेत्र, जिन वर्गों की इसकी सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत थी, वहां उन्होंने विकास किया ही नहीं, क्योंकि ये काम करने के लिए जरा मेहनत ज्यादा पड़ती है। पक्की सड़कों से जो सबसे अधिक वंचित थे, वो गांव थे हमारे आदिवासी क्षेत्र के। जिन गरीब परिवारों को 8 साल में पक्का आवास मिला, बिजली मिली, शौचालय मिला और गैस कनेक्शन मिले, उनमें से अधिकतर मेरे आदिवासी भाई बहन, मेरे दलित भाई बहन, मेरे पिछड़े परिवार के लोग थे। शुद्ध पीने के पानी से वंचित सबसे अधिक हमारे गांव थे, हमारे गरीब थे, हमारे आदिवासी भाई बहन थे। टीकाकरण का अभियान चलता था तो गांव, गरीब और आदिवासी क्षेत्रों तक पहुंचने में बरसों लग जाते थे।
A federal aviation accident investigator will be sent to Hawaii to investigate after a tour helicopter crashed on a remote Big Island lava field, injuring all 6 on board. The Bell 407 helicopter left Kona International Airport about 5 p.m. on Wednesday on a sightseeing tour and crashed about 30 minutes later. Near the southernmost tip of the island, all 6 on board were injured. US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris met with Caribbean leaders at the Summit of the Americas to emphasize deepening US-Caribbean ties and strengthening the partnership with America's neighbors. The meeting was an important opportunity for the President and Vice President to connect with the Caribbean community leaders to talk about the challenges the nations face and the best way to collaborate with these regional partners. The new president of Somalia has warned that his country faces another famine as it remains gripped by a prolonged drought. Hassan Sheikh Mohamud issued the warning after his inauguration as the country's new president earlier this week. UN humanitarian agencies also warned of a historic 4th consecutive failed rainy season in Somalia. The president also spoke of the security challenges posed by extremist groups in the country. A man opened fire at a business in western Maryland, killing 3 people before the suspect and a state trooper were wounded in the shootout. The Washington County Sheriff's Office says a 4th victim is critically injured. The suspect then fled in a vehicle. He was tracked down by Maryland State Police. The suspect and a trooper were also wounded in an exchange of gunfire. Both were being treated for their wounds. A wildfire in southern Spain forced the evacuation of 2,000 people amid fears that torrid weather may feed the blaze. Emergency agencies deployed almost 1,000 firefighters, military personnel and support crews to fight it as water-dropping helicopters could be seen in the area. Emergency centers have been set up to help those evacuated, including in Benahavis.
as the term of President Ramnath Kovind is about to complete on July 24th, and the Election Commission of India yesterday announced the date for the upcoming presidential elections. Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar said that the elections for the new president will take place on July 18th, and the counting of votes, if required, will be held on July 21st. The Mumbai police has directed officials not to book individuals under the POCSO Act without recommendation of the ACP and permission of the zonal DCP.
બસમાંથી ઉતરીને ખભે થેલો લટકાઈને આવતા હોઈએ અને અહીંયા અનેક પરિવારો, અનેક ગામ, મને સાંભળતું નથી કે આટલા બધા વર્ષો આ વિસ્તારોમાં હું તમારી વચ્ચે રહ્યો, કોઈ પણ દિવસ મારે ભૂખા રહેવાની નોબત નથી આવી. આ પ્રેમ, આશીર્વાદ, આ મારી શક્તિ છે. આદિવાસી ભાઈઓની વચ્ચે કામ કરવાના અવસર મળ્યા, એના કરતા વધારે એમની પાસેથી મને શીખવાના અવસર મળ્યા. સુઘડતા, સ્વચ્છતા, અનુશાસન. આપણે ડાંગના જિલ્લામાં જતા હોઈએ, એ આદિવાસી વિસ્તારમાં જતા હોઈએ, સવાર હોય, સાંજ હોય કે અંધારું થવાની તૈયારી હોય, બધા એક લાઈનમાં જ ચાલતા હોય, એકબીજાના પાછળ જ ચાલતા હોય. અને આ મસ્તું નથી, બહુ સમજદારીપૂર્વક કરતી એમની જીવન રચના છે. આજે આદિવાસી સમાજ એક સામુદાયિક જીવન, એના આદર્શો આત્મસાત કરનારું, પર્યાવરણને રક્ષા કરનારું આપણો આ સમાજ. અહીંયા બધાએ કહ્યું કે આજની આ 3000 કરોડ રૂપિયાની યોજનાઓ, મને યાદ છે એક જમાનો હતો ગુજરાતમાં, ભૂતકાળમાં એક એવા મુખ્યમંત્રી હતા આપણે ત્યાં, આજ વિસ્તારના, આદિવાસી વિસ્તારના, એમના પોતાના ગામમાં પાણીની ટાંકી નહોતી. હેન્ડપંપ લગાવે એ પણ 12 મહિને.
Prime Minister speaking Gujarati there, mentioning about his old connect with the region, not just from his days as Chief Minister, but even before. He's saying that the kind of love he got here while he roamed around in these villages for years, he never once went hungry.
ગુજરાતમાં કે ગુજરાતના એક
There was a time
મુખ્યમંત્રી
in Gujarat
જામનગરમાં
when there was a chief minister from this region,
પાણીની,
and his own village did not have a water tank.
અને ગુજરાતના છાપામાં
Another chief minister in Saurashtra,
ફોટા છપાણા હતા કે મુખ્યમંત્રીએ પાણીની ટાંકીનું ઉદ્ઘાટન કર્યું. એ દિવસો ગુજરાતે જોયા
another
છે.
chief minister in
આજે
Saurashtra,
મને
when he
ગર્વ
inaugurated
થાય
a water
છે.
tank in his village,
હું
there was a
આદિવાસી
poster put up that
વિસ્તારમાં
chief minister has inaugurated this water
3000
tank.
કરોડ રૂપિયાના કામો એનું ઉદ્ઘાટન કર્યું.
And today, projects worth
અને
3,000
આપણે ત્યાં
crore
તો કોઈ પણ કામ કરો
rupees are being
એટલે
inaugurated.
કેટલાક લોકો ચાલુ જ પડી જાય કે જોયું ચૂંટણી આવી એટલે કામ થાય છે, ચૂંટણી આવી એટલે કામ થાય છે.
Now people would say this is happening because elections are coming.
અમારા કાર્યકાળનો એક અઠવાડિયું કોઈ એવું શોધી લાવે, એક, આ મારી ચુનૌતી છે.
But in my period of work,
સરકારની અંદર
there was not one week when some project or the other was not
એક
inaugurated.
અઠવાડિયું કોઈ શોધી લાવે કે જે અઠવાડિયામાં અમે કોઈ વિકાસનું નવું
Not even
કામ
1 week
કર્યું હોય,
which went
એવું
without
એક
a project.
અઠવાડિયું ન મળે.
A new project.
પણ કેટલાક વાંક દેખા લોકોને એમ જ લાગે કે આ ચૂંટણી છે. હવે મારે એટલા માટે કહેવું પડે છે કે 2018માં
But some people would say, okay, it's because of
આ
elections.
વિસ્તારને પાણી આપવા માટે આવડી મોટી યોજના લઈને જ્યારે હું આવ્યો તો અહીંયા, ત્યારે
But this big project which is being inaugurated today, foundation of which was laid in 2018, that there was no election at that time.
લોકસભાની ચૂંટણી આવવાની છે એટલા મોદી સાહેબ આઈને આંબા આંબલી દેખાડવા માંડ્યા છે. આજે મને ગર્વ થાય છે કે
Okay, then people said, okay, because of Lok Sabha elections in 2019 perhaps.
પહોંચાડી દીધું. કોઈને ગણે નહોતું
But
ઉતરતું.
who's getting water today?
ભાઈ નેવાના પાણી મોભે ચડાવવાની વાત
People in the region.
ત્યારે પણ કરી, ભૂપેન્દ્રભાઈએ પણ કરી, પણ એમાં તો નેવા અને મોભા વચ્ચે 3-4 ફૂટથી વધારે અંતર નથી હોતું. 3-4 ફૂટનો ઢાળ હોય છે. આ તો 200 માળનો ઊંચો પહાડ ચડવાનો.
And this is a project in which water
અને
has been raised to the level of 200 floors.
પહાડની ચોટી પર લઈ જવાનું.
It's an engineering
અને એ
marvel.
પણ જો ચૂંટણીઓ જીતવા માટે કરવાનું હોય ને,
Water has been
તો
taken
કોઈ
right up to the
200-300
hills.
વોટ માટે આવી
Last of the village
કરે
there.
ભાઈ, એ તો બીજી જગ્યાએ કરે. અમે ચૂંટણી જીતવા માટે નહીં, અમે તો આ દેશના નાગરિકોનું ભલું કરવા નીકળેલા લોકો છીએ.
And this has not been
ચૂંટણી તો
done.
લોકો અમને જીતાડતા હોય છે.
For elections. Not for
લોકોના
winning elections,
આશીર્વાદ
but to
બેસતા
win
હોઈએ.
heart of the people.
અને સ્ટોલ
This is
પ્રોજેક્ટ
for the blessings of the people.
એન્જિનિયરિંગની દુનિયામાં સુરેન્દ્રનગર જિલ્લામાં ઢાંકીનું કામ.
The Astol project
અને હું તો એન્જિનિયરિંગ યુનિવર્સિટીઓને,
is a
કોલેજોને,
marvel of engineering,
ટેકનિકલ
like that of
વિદ્યાર્થીઓને
Dhaki in
કહીશ
Surendranagar,
કે ઢાંકીમાં અમે જે નર્મદાનું
where
પાણી ચડાવ્યું
Narmada
છે,
waters were taken.
એવી જ રીતે અહીંયા અમે જે પાણી
20
ચડાવ્યું છે,
floors.
આનો એન્જિનિયરિંગના કોલેજના વિદ્યાર્થીઓએ અભ્યાસ કરવો જોઈએ. પ્રોફેસર આવવું જોઈએ કે કેવી
Engineering
રીતે
students across the
પહાડોમાં
country should be studying these
ઉતાર
projects.
ચઢાવ અને હિસાબ કિતાબ કે આટલું ઊંચે જઈશું પછી પાણીનું આટલું પ્રેશર આવશે. પછી
How the
અહીંયા
water has been
પંપ
taken
લગાવીશું
up
તો
the
પાણી
hills,
આટલું ઉપર જશે.
right up to the
આ એક
last
મોટું-
village, last
મોટું
habitation.
કામ થયેલું છે. અને આપણે ત્યાં, હું તો અહીંયા ધરમપુરના
It's a huge
બધા
work that has been done.
વિસ્તારમાં રહ્યો છું.
It's a big project.
સાપુતારામાં રહ્યો છું.
I have myself
કાયમ
lived in
માટે
these
અનુભવ
neighborhoods.
કયો?
I have
વરસાદ
lived in
ખૂબ
these
પડે,
villages.
પણ પાણી આપણા નસીબમાં ના હોય, પાણી વહી જાય.
It's a rain-rich
પહેલી વાર નક્કી
region,
કર્યું
but yet
કે અમારા
there is no potable water. There is no
જંગલોમાં,
drinking
ઊંચી
water.
ટેકરીઓ પર રહેતા છૂટા છવાયા અમારા આદિવાસી ભાઈઓ,
In the forests, in the
ત્યાં
hills,
જંગલ
in the
વિસ્તારમાં રહેતા
hamlets.
અન્ય સમાજના ભાઈઓ હોય, એમને પાણી મેળવવાનો હક છે.
For the tribals, for
પીવાનું શુદ્ધ
other
પાણી
people
પ્રાપ્ત
in the
કરવાનો
forest.
હક છે. અને એના માટે અમે આવડા મોટા અભિયાન ઉપાડ્યા.
Drinking potable
આ ચૂંટણીઓ માટે
water was
ઉપાડેલા
their right, but they were
અભિયાન
not getting it.
અને અમે કહેતા હતા કે જેનો શિલાન્યાસ અમે કરીએ ને,
This was not a
એનું
project for
લોકાર્પણ
elections.
પણ
This
અમે
was a project
કરીએ
for the
છીએ.
people.
અને આજે મારું સદભાગ્ય છે કે એ કામ પણ મને નસીબમાં થયું છે.
It's a
એક
blessing.
કમિટમેન્ટ છે. પ્રજા માટે
It's my honor
જીવવાનું,
that I could finish this project.
પ્રજા માટે ખપવાનું. રાજકીય આટા
I have to live for the people.
સમય બરબાદ કરનારા અમે લોકો નથી. અમારે મન સત્તામાં બેસવું એ માત્ર ને માત્ર સેવા કરવાનો એક અવસર સમજીએ છે. જનતા જનાર્દનનું ભલું કરવાનો અવસર સમજીએ. કોવિડની આફત આખી દુનિયામાં આવી, પણ આટલા બધા વેક્સિનેશનના ડોઝ આપનારું એકમાત્ર દેશ હોય તો હિન્દુસ્તાન છે. 200
Quick roundup from the world of sports. David Miller carried his sensational IPL form to international cricket as South Africa made a mockery of the Indian bowling attack to gun down their highest ever run chase and race to a 7-wicket win in the opening T20. New Zealand captain Kane Williamson, ahead of the second test at Trent Bridge, said his side took some positives from the first test defeat to England, but he underlined that the tourists are also looking to improve on their individual performances. Two-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu and World Championship bronze winner Lakshya Sen progressed to quarter-finals of the Indonesia Masters Super 500 badminton tournament. With contrasting wins, Sindhu was made to toil hard for over an hour by Gregoria Mariska of Indonesia before winning in the second round. The president of the Russian Olympic Committee claimed that his organization received information that Russia was not admitted to the General Assembly of the European Olympic Committee. The International Olympic Committee had earlier recommended international federations ban Russian athletes as well as Belarusian competitors from all international competitions amidst the war in Ukraine. Croatia's players trained in Copenhagen ahead of Friday's Nations League match against Denmark. Croatia has have just 1 point after their first 2 games. Both played at home, a 3-0 defeat to Austria and 1-1 draw with the world champions France.
Luhansk's governor has said on Thursday that fighting was continuing in Severodonetsk, the eastern Ukrainian city that is key to Moscow's efforts to complete the capture of the industrial Donbas region. With the war in Ukraine now having gone on for over 100 days, a pitched battle is ongoing in the Donbas, where Russia is intent on accomplishing its strategic objective. Two British citizens and a Moroccan were sentenced to death on Thursday by pro-Moscow rebels in eastern Ukraine for fighting on Ukraine's side. A court in the self-proclaimed and Russia-recognized Donetsk People's Republic found the 3 men guilty of working toward a violent overthrow of power, an offense punishable by death in the unrecognized republic. Russia's state news agency reported that Aiden Azlin, Sean Pinner and Saudun Brahim were set to face a firing squad. They have a month to appeal. Putting Islamabad in a tight spot, the International Monetary Fund has asked Pakistan to renegotiate
മുഖ്യമന്ത്രിയുടെ രാജിയാണ് എന്ന് ആവശ്യപ്പെട്ടുകൊണ്ട് രാജി ആവശ്യപ്പെട്ടുകൊണ്ട് കോൺഗ്രസ്
हाँ पैचअप करो करना है तो पैचअप करना करो या जस्ट अ मिनट just a minute here. That idiot cameraman is trying to get this.
The headlines at this hour: elections for 16 Rajya Sabha seats across 4 states gets underway. AIMIM lends support to MVA government in Maharashtra, says move is to defeat the BJP. Ahead of crucial Rajya Sabha polls, sources say Sena disappointed with NCP decision. Big twist ahead of polls. Kumaraswamy hits out at the Congress, says Congress destroyed secularism in the country. Bratish behavior caught on tape. MLA Limbavali's daughter abuses cops and media. Tension simmer in valley after stone pelting is reported in Jammu's Bhadarwah. Welcome to this edition of the news on Republic TV. Well, Nawab Malik's lawyer will be filing another plea, seeking permission to go and cast a vote in a court's observation and with police escort, he says. Joining us is our reporter Ankit on this. Ankit, what is this new state of affairs as far as Nawab Malik is concerned? He says that he will be filing a plea seeking police protection and escort to cast his vote.
Right, so Nawab Malik and the NCP continue to attempt to get Nawab Malik here and to cast his vote in the Rajya Sabha election. What happened just a short while ago was that the previous plea which was filed in the High Court, that did not work out for Nawab Malik. The court did not allow him because he had not moved for bail. He had just moved for permission and an escort to come to the Vidhan Bhavan here and to cast his vote. The additional Solicitor General who was appearing against Nawab Malik's plea, he argued that you need to seek bail. Yesterday, the special PMLA court had rejected the bail application, and because of that, that plea was not allowed, and he was also asked then if he wants to continue with this application, he needs to move another plea. And so that is what is allegedly now going to happen, is that they are going to attempt once again. They have till 4 p.m. to do so, because right now at the Vidhan Bhavan at just after noon, about 180 MLAs from the 4 parties that have big numbers in the assembly, that is the BJP, the Shiv Sena, the NCP and the Congress, along with all the independents who are so crucial to determining who the 6th Rajya Sabha member from Maharashtra in these elections will be, have cast their vote. So currently that is where it stands. 180 MLAs have cast their votes at this point in time. That number is steadily rising, and we also have seen how the Chief Minister of the state, Uddhav Thackeray, also came here a short while ago. Now remember, he is not voting because he is a member of the Legislative Council. He is also simply here, I think, to ensure that there is an MVA consensus and that their 6th candidate gets their vote, because it's the Shiv Sena's second candidate who is up for the election here, and he will contest against the BJP's second candidate. And so the onus is very much on the Shiv Sena, which is at the lead of the Mahavikas Aghadi.
And joining us now is our senior editor Aishwarya Kapoor. Aishwarya, it's over to you. Crucial Rajya Sabha polls underway.
We are seeing these are very, very important Rajya Sabha elections en route, and we need to see that the manner in which, whether it's the Congress or it's the BJP, and we are also being told that Kailash Meena, another BJP MLA vote, has been rejected as we speak. So this is another information which is just coming in, and I would just like to bring it that Kailash Meena, another BJP MLA vote, has been rejected. Kailash Meena is a BJP MLA from Rajasthan whose vote has been rejected. This is after BJP MLA Shobha Rani Kushwaha's vote was rejected just around 3 to 4 minutes prior. So these are two BJP MLAs. First is Shobha Rani Kushwaha, and then the other Kailash Meena, whose vote have been rejected. But at this point of time, the larger question is that the manner in which we have seen resort politics, the manner we've seen that how these political parties, whether it's the Congress or the BJP, they are herding or they are trying to collect and then keep their MLAs enclosed in fear of voting. What is the message that these parties are sending? What is the message which Ashok Gehlot is trying to send in? Because at the end of the day, when they go to the people, for asking for their votes, they say that they are here and they have a zero tolerance towards corruption. But this message, because their actions in the Rajya Sabha polls are clearly completely opposite. The manner in which we are seeing that these MLAs were being moved from one location to another, from one hotel to another, from one state capital to another state, and now we are being told that Kailash Meena, yes. So these are the two MLAs. I repeat, BJP MLA Shobha Rani Kushwaha and the other is Kailash Meena. They are both BJP MLAs whose vote have been rejected. So at this point of time, that's the latest coming in. But then Rajasthan and both Haryana are going to be very interesting, because if you talk about comfortability, Congress can comfortably be victorious in 2 seats and BJP in 1. But BJP has a media baron there who has basically stood up as an independent backed by the BJP. But for that, BJP would need 10 Congress votes to come from their side into the BJP's kitty, and that is something which is not looking that easy. We have seen this happening not for the first time. If we remember, even in the last Rajya Sabha elections, it had literally gone down to the wire, if you remember, in Gujarat. But at that point of time, Congress had an Ahmed Patel, but this time around there is no Ahmed Patel. And whether Ashok Gehlot will be able to keep his herd together, his herd of MLAs, that is going to be very important. And the latest information in this regard is that the two MLAs whose name we've just specified, one is Kailash Meena and the other is Shobha Rani Kushwaha, both of their votes have been rejected. Back to you in the studios.
Well, Aishwarya, just getting in some more latest details right now. 40% of the polling is done in Rajasthan and 50% in Maharashtra. But what's certainly very interesting is the developments that are taking place in the state of Maharashtra. Just a short while back, we have seen the setback that the NCP has got in the form of the fact that Nawab Malik as well as Anil Deshmukh, they haven't got the permission to cast their vote. Aishwarya, what's the latest that you're picking up as far as the state of Maharashtra is concerned? Because we are now being told that Nawab Malik in all likelihood would be approaching the Bombay High Court with another plea.
Well, he can and he might, but that is a legal process. But as you said, both of these leaders have not been allowed. And we have seen another very, very interesting development, Shavan, that is the coming together of the MVA and then the AIMIM. So basically all of those questions, and I repeat, all of those questions and all of those leaders who used to call AIMIM as the team B of the BJP, they have got their answer that where does the loyalty and where is this alliance going? The alliance of AIMIM, that is of Asauddin Owaisi and then the MVA coming together, is a message that in desperate situation, these are the two parties which can come together. Though one would have never thought that an alliance which already has Shiv Sena as a part of it can ever see AIMIM joining hands. But then politics, there are no permanent foes or friends, and this is a clear example of that. But as you said, two of these big leaders who are behind bars, Nawab Malik and then Anil Deshmukh, have not been allowed. As you've just given that breaking, Shavan, that yes, Nawab Malik will be approaching the higher authorities, that is the higher court. Whether he gets permission or not, that is for the courts to decide. But at this point of time, MVA seems to be comfortable in getting their people through. BJP feels that there are going to be at least five plus MLAs which could switch sides, but they haven't seen the sign of it. So we are still waiting for the first sign of a deflection from the MVA towards the BJP. Back to you in the studios.
Well, thank you very much, Shwara. Requesting you to stay on as you get us the latest updates. Let me also quickly move to the other state we have been tracking very closely. What's really happening in Rajasthan? My colleague Piyush is there on the ground. The latest breaking news coming in. Now, this is the figure we have been told till about 10:30 this morning. Piyush, 40% of the votes for Rajya Sabha has been cast, and it started around 9 o'clock this morning, continuing till about 4, and the counting will be starting at 5 o'clock in the evening. But the pictures that came in from the state of Rajasthan essentially showed the nervousness within the Congress camp. They are not very sure whether they are in a position to hold on to the entire flock there. What is it that you're picking up? Have you been able to perhaps speak to any of the leaders there from the Congress party? What's the indication like?
Well, Shaman, we just spoke to Sachin Pilot. Remember that he is now very much confident that all the three candidates of Congress party are going to have a sliding victory here in Rajya Sabha polls. If we talk about the mathematics, what we are learning is that around 109 MLAs of Congress party are voting in favor of all the candidates. We are also seeing the pictures of these MLAs who are coming out after casting their vote. Media is also trying to catch a glimpse of these MLAs. Remember, we also spoke to Raghu Sharma, another MLA of the Congress party. He's saying that BJP will face massive defeat. If we talk about BJP, remember that there are 71 seats. Those are in kitty of BJP, where it is claiming that out of these 71 seats, 41 MLAs are going to vote in support of Ghanshyam Tiwari, BJP candidate. We'll have to wait and watch how the equation is going to further turn in coming few minutes. Yes, Chavan.
Just a quick question before I go back to our panelists in a short while from now. A lot of interest is as far as those turncoat BSP MLAs are concerned. They've already aired their resentment towards the Congress party. Anything that you're picking up on that front? A quick word as far as the turncoat BSP MLAs are concerned.
Well, Shawan, if you talk about these BSP MLAs, the Congress party is very much confident that all these BSP MLAs are going to vote for their candidates. But on the other side, Subhash Chandra, who is also Media Baron, he's claiming that he has got the support of 6 independent MLAs, 2 BJP MLAs, and also many other MLAs, not only from BJP, but also few from the Congress's camp. But the Congress party is rejecting all these claims being made by Subhash Chandra. The voting is underway. Let me also try to show you pictures from right outside the assembly, where we are seeing these MLAs continuously coming out. We have spoken to many. They are now saying that by 5 p.m., in fact by 5:30, the picture is going to clear. The voting, as we are speaking, is still underway. 40% of voting has already taken place.
Which number is it here?
Let me also bring in Pathikrit Prain, who's joining us on this broadcast. Pathikrit, as far as the BJP is concerned, remember they've touched the 100 milestone a few months back, but that was a milestone that the Congress party had achieved back in 1988. Now, for the BJP, this is going to be extremely crucial ahead of the 2024 elections, the Uniform Civil Code being at the top of their mind. What do you think would be right now in the minds of the BJP, right? How exactly would they be tackling the situation?
Shawan, good afternoon. See, I think, over the last 2-3 years, we have seen that in spite of the fact that BJP did not have the Rajya Sabha numbers, they have somehow been able to successfully tactically vote in alliance with some of the other political parties who are not aligned, who are not part of the NDA, but still have voted in favor of, the NDA, especially during the Article 370 abrogation, even in case of Citizenship Amendment Act. But I think what BJP wants is to have an absolute majority of its own in the Rajya Sabha, and that's why these Rajya Sabha elections are getting more exciting by the day, and probably the amount of focus today in this particular Rajya Sabha election is as much perhaps as you would be there in a assembly election. So I think for BJP, I think some crucial, as you rightly mentioned, some very crucial bills they are perhaps trying to bring in, where they would prefer not to depend anymore on those independent parties which are neither part of NDA or not part of UPA, and they would prefer to have a majority of their own so that they can sail through those crucial bills. I think, as you rightly mentioned, Uniform Civil Code is perhaps one of those crucial bills. Some major economic bills are also there, and there is an increasing realization that far more deeper economic reforms are required. So both on the economic front and some of the, the patented issues of BJP, whether on Article 370 that was there or the Uniform Civil Code as is pending, they would prefer to have this, and also you have to remember the Rajya Sabha elections are also at the same time an opportunity to expose the rift among the opposition members, and that is increasingly we can see whether it is in Maharashtra or in Karnataka. So on one hand they would try to have a majority of their own in the Rajya Sabha, as in Lok Sabha it's a gone case, literally they have an absolute majority. In case of Rajya Sabha, showing the rift to make sure that before 2024 no grand alliance can be formed, and there is the animosity can be increased. That's the reason perhaps the Rajya Sabha elections are becoming far more important today. So overall, this is also going to be a precursor to the presidential election next month. This is going to set the ball rolling, and the momentum, who would have the higher momentum, and of course the ruling party may have the ruling dispensation, that will decide and make sure that they have an easier sail through during the presidential election as well.
And joining us also is Ashutosh Mishra, who is a senior journalist. Mr. Mishra, well, as Pathikrit Pine just mentioned, these elections are also about exposing the rifts in the opposition. Political analysts also have told us how these elections are all about arithmetic and alliances. When we talk about Karnataka, for example, well, initially there was a sense that the JDS and the Congress would be coming together. Both of them were saying about how they both wanted to defeat the BJP. But then we had, Siddaramaiah sending a letter that, the JDS should support the Congress, the Congress candidate. What is the message that we should get here? What seems to be the Congress strategy?
No, it's very obvious here that there are two camps, as everybody is saying. One is for BJP and the other is against BJP. And especially after this Prophet Rao, people are treading carefully as to not send out a wrong message. And Congress here is facing a problem from BJP in states where BJP is not in a position to win on its own. So BJP is using Sam, Dam, Dan, Bait, horse trading, whatever you want to say. People like Subhash Chandra or Kartik Sharma to sort of break Congress votes. Now, I was just listening to Aishwarya, and it seems actually in Rajasthan, 2 BJP votes have been rejected. That's an interesting turn of events. No, the message here is very clear, that you are either you support BJP's line of thinking, which at the moment, that's why in Maharashtra, when AIM supports MVA, it's not because it wants to support MVA. It is supporting MVA because it wants to send a message that it is not with BJP. Because the core, what is the core vote of Muslim League, Muslims? So it cannot afford in any way to look that it's helping BJP. That's why it's supporting MVA out of this compulsion. It's we have seen earlier also that in Rajya Sabha, BJP is very adept at getting things done. I mean, you remember that.
Well, Ashutosh Mishra and Pathikrit Pine with us as a panelist as we discuss the crucial Rajya Sabha elections that are currently underway. 16 seats up for grabs now, and voting almost complete in the halfway mark, in fact. Well, many thanks to you, Mr. Ashutosh, as well as Mr. Pathikrit Brian, for joining us there and for your inputs. Meanwhile, our rolling coverage of the Rajya Sabha polls continues.
ना होगी शाम को, मुझे लगता है कि जितनी हम लोगों को उम्मीद थी उससे ज़्यादा वोट हम लोगों को मिलेंगे और हमारे तीनों प्रत्याशी मुकुल वासनिक जी, रणदीप सुरजेवाला जी और प्रमोद तिवारी जी अच्छे बहुमत के साथ, जितना हम अनुमान लगाते हैं उससे अधिक मतों के साथ जीत कर जाएंगे। और तीनों ऐसे नेता हैं जिनको सोनिया जी, राहुल जी ने राजस्थान में भेजा है ताकि अपर हाउस में, राज्यसभा में एक प्रबल आवाज़ बनकर भाजपा की सरकार का विरोध कर सकें, क्योंकि राष्ट्रीय पार्टी होने के नाते हमें ज़रूरत है ऐसी मुखर आवाज़ों की जो राज्यसभा में राजस्थान की बात को रख सकें।
अनावश्यक हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग से दूसरा उम्मीदवार जीतने की क्या तुक थी, ये मतलब हालात पूरे प्रदेश में रिएक्शन है। अनावश्यक चुनाव करवा दिए, वरना चारों सीटें 3 हमारी, 1 बीजेपी का आराम जीती थी। ऐसे एक्ट को कोई लाइक नहीं करता। पहले भी इन्होंने ऐसे ही किया था, पिछले चुनाव में मार के खानी पड़ी इन लोगों को, अब फिर इस बार मार खाएंगे लोग। ओके,
देखिए सरकार भयक्रांत है, सरकार घुटनों के बल चल रही है। जितने अनैतिक हथकंडे सरकार अपना सकती थी उससे ज़्यादा अनैतिक हथकंडे इन्होंने अपनाए हैं। खरीद फरोख्त हो रही है, इंटरनेट बंद हो रहे हैं, एसी पेज में परिवाद दर्ज करके विधायकों को डालने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। उसके बाद भी सरकार का असली चेहरे से नकाब हमने इस चुनाव में खींच दिया। अभी तिल देखिए, तिल की धार देखिए, नतीजे देखिए, उसके बाद पता लगेगा कि सरकार में कितना विद्रोह है।
We are so confident about it. It's not only, as you rightly said, it's a historic this thing which will be happening in Maharashtra, and Maharashtra will lead in this. MUA 4 candidates, they will win by big margin. That is for sure.
मुझे पूरा यकीन है कि जो छोटे छोटी पार्टियां हैं उनका भी समर्थन हमें ही मिलेगा, जो निर्दलीय चुन के आए हैं उनका भी समर्थन हमें ही मिलेगा, और निश्चित तौर पर सभी के सभी लोग चुन के एम हो या एसपी हो, सभी पार्टी का समर्थन महाविकास आघाड़ी को ही रहेगा, ऐसा मुझे पक्का यकीन।
We have just casted our vote. As a party, we are hopeful all our 3 candidates will win. And this is the vote for development. This is the vote for our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji.
We see that there's a tussle going on between the JDS and the Congress. How do you see that?
That is their internal affairs. They were always, for external world, they look like friends, but they are politically, ideologically way apart.
What secular vote? They know the meaning of secular. In this country, the secular strength was totally demolishing by these Congress people. We have 30 to 31 votes. We have confidence. Srinivas Gowda already expressed it in media. He will going to vote for Congress. Let us see. What secular vote? They know the meaning of secular. In this country, the secular strength was totally demolishing by these Congress people. We have 30 to 31 votes. We have confidence. Srinivas Gowda already expressed it in media. He will going to vote for Congress. Let us see.
Coming in now from Jammu and Kashmir, a curfew has been imposed in the town of Bhadrawa of Doda district in Jammu. Internet services were suspended on Friday following tensions over some social media posts. Tensions flared up on Thursday after a purported video went viral in which instigating announcements were being made from a mosque in Bhadrawa in Jammu. Following this, a case was registered at Bhadrawa police station. Here's a ground report filed by my colleague Gursimran Singh.
establishing their protest, registering their protest against the post that hurts the sentiments of the majority of the Muslim population in Jammu and Kashmir. While Vijay Mubashir is showing the visuals of the deployment of Jammu and Kashmir police here at the Gantagar, and also the shops here are almost shut in the city center, and also as far as the vehicular movement is concerned, it's very less. It tells you that how the Kashmir is reacting to the post that is there to disturb the communal harmony, and that is why police and the administration in Bhadarwah has also imposed curfew. As far as the deployment of the Jammu and Kashmir police is concerned, we are seeing in majority of the city centers the deployment number has been increased, and also police is keeping watch as far as the movement of people on ground is concerned. With Vijay Mubashir Hussain, I'm Zina Zishan Fazil for Republic in Srinagar.
Tension has prevailed in the Bhadarwah area of Doda district after two communities came in front of each other over the hate speech controversy. Right now we are in the Bhadarwah area, and there's a heavy security deployment. Those persons who were sitting here for long have now removed the matting is being removed. There is a heavy deployment of the Jammu and Kashmir police, Indian Army and the CRPF, and what they are saying is that they will be acting on those who shared some cartoons which offended the people from minority community, and now the police has assured them that strict action will be taken. Now we see that heavy deployment of the police can be seen. The police are ready to tackle all possible situations, and even the administration was having talks with the protesters, and they have assured protesters that strict action will be taken against the culprits, as the FIR has already been launched and the probe is underway. Mr. Jeevan Kumar, Gursimran Singh for Republic Media Network.
जम्मू कश्मीर में शांति स्थापना के लिए हमारे सुरक्षा बलों ने, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ी है। लगभग पिछले 2 वर्षों में जिस प्रकार की गिरावट टेररिज्म में आई है वो सभी को मानना चाहिए, लेकिन एक प्रयास दोबारा जो ये हमारे भदरवाह, रामबन, रसवाइल, डोडा है जो उसमें भी जो कि शांत माहौल लगातार था उसको एक अशांत करने का जो प्रयास किया जा रहा है, इसमें कौन लोग संलिप्त हैं उनके बारे में जानकारी देनी होगी। सरकार को बड़ी समझदारी के साथ तमाम धर्मों के जो मुखिया हैं उनके साथ बैठ कर के इस प्रकार की अप्रिय घटना ना हो, इसको सुनिश्चित बनाना चाहिए। हालांकि प्रशासन ने एहतियातन कर्फ्यू भी वहाँ पर लगाया है। इंटरनेट का जो इस्तेमाल होता है धार्मिक भावनाओं भड़काने के लिए, उसको भी रोक लगाई है। उम्मीद है कि जल्द कुछ लोग जो धार्मिक समुदाय के हमारे मुखिया हैं उनके साथ भी सरकार बैठक करेगी और इस कोई भी अप्रिय घटना को रोकेगी।
जो भड़काऊ भाषण मस्जिदों में दिए जा रहे हैं, क्या लगता है कि ये कहीं ना कहीं धार्मिक सौहार्द बिगाड़ सकते हैं?
देखिए, बहुत सी ऐसी ताकतें जम्मू कश्मीर की शांति व्यवस्था को लेकर के उनके चिंता होना स्वाभाविक है। हमारे पड़ोसी मुल्क में भी इस प्रकार की जो घटनाएं हैं, इसी के एक्शन में कल वहाँ पर मंदिर भी तोड़े गए। तो इस सारे माहौल को शांत करना जरूरी है।
Security has also been beefed up in Kanpur after the arrest of the rioters. Security personnel in the city are being given training how to tackle crowds. Take a look.
देखिए, मैं तस्वीरें आपको दिखाऊंगी यहाँ पर किस तरीके से यहाँ पे पहले से ट्रेनिंग दी जा रही है कि इस तरीके से करना होगा। यहाँ पर अनाउंसमेंट भी हो रहा था और देखिए कि सुरक्षा व्यवस्था जो है चाक चौबंद यहाँ पर की हुई है। आरएएफ की टीम है, आपको बताया गया था कि किस तरीके से 3 कंपनियां यहाँ पर आरएएफ की तैनात की गई है। पुलिस फोर्स भी यहाँ पर मौजूद है और ये बताया जा रहा है अगर कोई भी आपात स्थिति होती है तो उससे कैसे निपटा जाए, ये इन फोर्सेस को बताया जा रहा है। क्योंकि देखिए, जुम्मे का वक्त जो है वो नजदीक आ रहा है। उससे पहले यहाँ पर सुरक्षा व्यवस्था को पूरी तरीके तरीके से चाक चौबंद हो जाए उसका पूरी तरीके से निरीक्षण किया जा रहा है, समझाया जा रहा है, बताया जा रहा है कि देखिए अगर कोई भी आपात स्थिति होती है तो आपको इस तरीके से एक्ट करना है। ये देखिए अनाउंसमेंट के जरिए यहाँ पर बड़ी संख्या में आरएफ की फोर्स जो है वो तैनात है, यहाँ पर रैपिड एक्शन फोर्स यहाँ पर तैनात है। साथ ही साथ इन्हीं के साथ आपको दिखाते कि पुलिस फोर्स भी इनके साथ तैनात है। यहाँ पर महिला पुलिस फोर्स भी यहाँ पर तैनात है, स्वैट की टीमें भी यहाँ पर भेजी गई हैं। तो आप समझिए कि यहाँ पर कितनी मुस्तैदी है। हम सुन रहे थे कि कल से कमिश्नर साहब जो कह रहे थे कि यहाँ पर सुरक्षा व्यवस्था में अगर जरा सी भी चूक होती है तो उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई की जाएगी। और इसीलिए देखिए यहाँ पर जुम्मे की नमाज से पहले ये स्थिति दिखाई। एक बार तस्वीरें देखिए किस तरीके से यहाँ पर इनको ट्रेनिंग दी जा रही है। लगातार इनको समझाया जा रहा है कि अगर कुछ भी अराजक तत्व आते हैं या अराजकता फैलाते हैं तो आपको इस तरीके से करना होगा। तो ये आरएफ रैपिड एक्शन फोर्स जिनकी 3 कंपनियां तैनात की गई है, पीएसी की 14 कंपनियां तैनात की गई है। ये देखिए किस तरीके से बताया जा रहा है इनको कि कतार में खड़े होके और किस तरीके से उनको रोकना है, करना है। आप समझिए कि आज का दिन बेहद संवेदनशील है और ऐसे संवेदनशील दिन पर, ऐसे संवेदनशील मौके पर यहाँ पर पूरी मुस्तैदी ड्रोन से नजर रखी जा रही थी। ये भी हमने अभी अपने दर्शकों को दिखाया कि किस तरीके से ड्रोन से भी नजर रखी जा रही है। यानी कि ये सिर्फ इधर ही नहीं, ये तो वो जगह है जहां पर हिंसा हुई थी, वहां पर कितनी फोर्स तैनात है, बल्कि पूरे कानपुर की अगर बात करें तो अलग अलग जगहों पर इसी तरीके से तैनाती की गई है।
Polling to elect members of the upper house of parliament for 16 Rajya Sabha seats spread across 4 states taking place today amid speculations of horse trading and fears of cross voting. Polling began at 9 a.m. will conclude at 4 p.m. today. Haryana Congress MLAs lodged in a resort in Chhattisgarh's Raipur arrive in Chandigarh. They left from Delhi early in the morning by bus. These are early morning visuals we have access as they are set to cast their votes in the Rajya Sabha elections. Haryana polling will take place for 2 seats.
We are confident that our candidate Shri Ajay Makanji will win with more than required number of votes and with number of votes more than our strength.
Sir, but the independent
Thank
candidate
you.
Kartikeya Sharma has got all the support from BJP and BJP. So, do you think that
we will win, and the number of votes hold in our favor will be more than our strength.
And Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar reached the Vidhan Sabha early in the morning ahead of the Rajya Sabha polls. Notably in Maharashtra, the Congress party has fielded Imran Pratapgarhi for the polls, while Praful Patel has been fielded by the NCP. Shiv Sena Sanjay Raut and Sanjay Pawar have been given a run in the polls. The BJP has fielded Dr. Anil Bonde, Piyush Goyal and Dhananjay Mahadik from the state. Interestingly, there will be 7 candidates in the fray for the 6 seats in the state.
धरने ये सब हो रहे हैं। जब हम सड़क के ऊपर आते
in Maharashtra, Jalil said the decision was taken to defeat the Bharatiya Janata Party, but the party's political and ideological differences with Shiv Sena, a partner in the MVA government, will continue. On the eve of elections to 6 Rajya Sabha seats in Maharashtra, senior BJP leader Devendra Fadnavis held a meeting with MLAs of his party, where he advised them to ensure that their votes do not turn invalid due to some mistake. The former chief minister was speaking to the BJP MLAs at a hotel. After more than 2 decades, Maharashtra will witness a contest in the Rajya Sabha polls, as there are 7 candidates in the fray for 6 seats.
Rundown.
And we are getting you an exclusive political scoop from Maharashtra, where 7 candidates are in the fray for 6 seats. We have been told that in a meeting held last night at Pawar's residence, Shiv Sena was disappointed with Sharad Pawar's decision. Sources say he has increased NCP's vote quota to 44, a safe game being played by the NCP. However, only 42 are required to win 1 Rajya Sabha seat. If this happens, it will be -2 for Sena, and Congress may also play a safe game like the NCP.
Getting in some breaking news right now from Telangana, where BJP leader Jitta Balakrishna Reddy, who had organized a Martyrs Memorial program on 2nd of June, during which there was an act which had performed insulting the Chief Minister. BJP now alleges that Jitta Balakrishna was taken in custody at the toll gate in Kesar. BJP Chief Bandi Sanjay has demanded immediate release and said that the KCR government and the police should take responsibility for what happened to Balakrishna. In fact, what you see right now are the latest images that have been accessed. We'll try and go across to our reporter Aniri in a short while from now to get us the latest details. These are the visuals that are coming in from Kesar toll gate, from where we are being told that he has now been detained. Aniri, what are the details that you're picking up?
Well, Shawan, this incident is now coming in from Gatkesar area, Gatkesar toll gate, where we see that the BJP leader Jitta Balakrishna Reddy, who had organized a Martyrs Memorial program on the 2nd of June, in which there was an act which was performed by, and also what TRS alleges is that they have been insulting Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao, and so he was blocked by the police officials last night at the Gatkesar toll gate. And so we also see that the BJP Chief Bandi Sanjay has demanded an immediate release of Jitta Balakrishna, and also at the same time he has stated that the government, the KCR government, and also the police officials should take the responsibility for whatever happened with Jitta Balakrishna at the Gatkesar toll gate. In the meantime, we also see that there is a case which has been registered against the BJP Chief Bandi Sanjay, as he had planned to stage a protest. And also now we see that the Ratchakonda police has booked a case against the Telangana BJP chief, and Bandi Sanjay has been put under house arrest. There's a massive police deployment outside his residence as well.
And in other news, breaking again, Republic TV has accessed CCTV footage of the May 30th accident on the Bandra Worli sea link. These are those visuals which claim the lives of 2 people. The ghastly visuals show how the accident took place on the Bandra Worli sea link, in which 2 people were just run over by a speeding taxi. Here's a report.
Watch the CCTV footage dated 30th May on the Bandra Worli sea link. A 43-year-old businessman made his driver to stop the car to save a bird that hit the car. They parked their car to the side of the sea link and went to check on the bird. Minutes later, the two met a watery end after a speeding cab rammed into them. Due to the impact, Jariwala and his driver were flung into the air. While the businessman died on the spot, his driver, who was admitted in hospital, succumbed to injuries later. According to the police, the taxi driver who was responsible for the accident has been arrested for rash and negligent driving and causing death due to negligence. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Visuals now coming in of gangster Lawrence Bishnoi, who's been produced in Patiala court. Remember, he has been in the custody of the Delhi Police Special Cell. In fact, he was lodged in Tihar jail, one of the masterminds as far as Sidhu Moose Wala's murder case is concerned. Lawrence Bishnoi has already filed an application before the court stating that his life is on threat. This is after the killing of Sidhu Moose Wala. Remember, the gang war had only intensified with one of his close aides being shot before Sidhu Moose Wala was killed. Now, in Sidhu Moose Wala's case, Lawrence Bishnoi has turned out to be one of the mastermind as far as killing of the late singer is concerned. We'll try and bring in our reporters right now to get you the latest details. But on your screens right now, latest images coming in from the Patiala court, where we are being told that Lawrence Bishnoi has been produced before the court. We'll also try and get you some more details with regards to the application that is now being heard I'm being told that Akhilesh in a short while would be joining us to get us more details of what's really happening in the court right now, where gangster Lawrence Bishnoi has been brought in. Remember, there is the entire gang, part of the entire gang is right now lodged in Tihar jail. Let me bring in my colleague Amandeep, who's joining us on this broadcast. Amandeep, Lawrence Bishnoi has now been produced before the court. This comes just a day after Goldie Brar, against whom a red corner notice has already been issued. It seems that the Punjab police is essentially making some headway as far as the probe is concerned.
Well, absolutely, Shravan. The point is that Lawrence Bishnoi served to be the mastermind of the entire killing of Sidhu Moose Wala. And in fact, Goldie Brar is one of the close associates who is operating from Canada, and he turned to be the key conspirator of this entire gruesome killing of Sidhu Moose Wala. And today, when Lawrence Bishnoi is being produced before the court, and in fact in a heavy security layer, was very much visible on our screen that Lawrence Bishnoi, with a very heavy security, he has been produced before the
court by the special cell of Delhi police, and in fact he has already gone through the investigation of Sidhu Moose Wala case, where special cell has also revealed that Lawrence Bishnoi is a mastermind who have actually planned this gruesome killing, and in fact the motive and the conspiracy, both are hashed by Lawrence Bishnoi himself. And in fact later on he roped in Goldie Brar, who is sitting in Canada, and in fact Goldie has spread his network in Punjab.
Well, Amandeep, many thanks for joining us there. You keep your eyes on that story. In other national news stories, curfew was imposed and internet services were suspended in Bhadarwah town of Doda district in Jammu following tensions over social media posts. Tensions flared in Doda district in Bhadarwah in Doda yesterday after a purported video went viral wherein impelling announcements were made from a mosque in Bhadarwah in Jammu. Following this, 2 separate FIRs have been registered. Uttar Pradesh police have said action has been taken against nearly 1.3 lakh loudspeakers at religious places across the state, while more than 13,000 such devices were donated to schools. As part of the drive by the state government, more than 72,000 loudspeakers were removed from various places of worship. 2 alleged rape accused were set ablaze by villagers in Gumla town yesterday. A minor girl was allegedly raped by 2 people on the 8th of June, following which the girl's family members thrashed the accused and set them on fire. One of the 2 accused died, the other is undergoing treatment in RIMS. Gumla police are further investigating the matter. Republic TV has accessed CCTV footage of the 30th of May, in which shows an accident on the Bandra-Worli sea link. It claimed 2 lives after they were run over by a cab. Worli police have registered a case against the taxi driver responsible for the incident. Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik inaugurated state's first houseboat on Chilka Lake. Launching the luxury houseboat through video conference, the Chief Minister said the facility would improve tourism on the Chilka and attract both domestic and international travelers. Patnaik said the lake has the potential to transform Odisha into a major tourist destination in the future.
Well, rolling coverage of Rajya Sabha elections from all 4 states continues on the Republic TV, and in fact controversies, resort politics and the cross voting is all happening in the Rajya Sabha elections. Stay tuned for more updates.
Luhansk's governor has said on Thursday that fighting was continuing in Severodonetsk, the eastern Ukrainian city that is key to Moscow's efforts to complete the capture of the industrial Donbas region. With the war in Ukraine now having gone on for over 100 days, a pitched battle is ongoing in the Donbas, where Russia is intent on accomplishing its strategic objective. 2 British citizens and a Moroccan were sentenced to death on Thursday by pro-Moscow rebels in eastern Ukraine for fighting on Ukraine's side. A court in the self-proclaimed and Russia-recognized Donetsk People's Republic found the 3 men guilty of working toward a violent overthrow of power, an offense punishable by death in the unrecognized republic. Russia's state news agency reported that Aiden Aslan, Sean Pinner and Saudun Brahim were set to face a firing squad. They have a month to appeal. Putting Islamabad in a tight spot, the International Monetary Fund has asked Pakistan to renegotiate the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor energy deals before making payments of around 300 billion Pakistani rupees to the Chinese power plants. The multilateral lender has asked the Shehbaz Sharif government to treat the CPEC power plants at par with the power plants established under its 1994 and 2002 power policies. A German prosecutor on Thursday said that a man accused of driving into a school group in Berlin appears to have a history of mental illness, adding that there was no sign of a terrorist motive. Prosecutor Sebastian added that the man would likely be sent to a secure psychiatric hospital.
And a shocking incident of VVIP racism has come to light as a video surfaced showing a BJP leader's daughter entering into a heated argument with police officials in Bengaluru, even as her car was stopped for rash driving. During this while, the MLA's daughter not only lashed out at on-duty police officers, but also the media personnel covering the event.
Shut it off! On the streets of Bengaluru, pulled up for rash driving. As the diligent police pulls up this car, watch the arrogance with which one sitting BJP MLA and former minister's daughter responded. Shut it off! Shut it off! Shut it off! Where are you from? I'll see you now. I'm a media person, okay? I came for shoot. Why are you recording? Watch how she launches a verbal attack on the stunned police and then name drops. And now watch, even as the police are trying to talk it out, this VVIP brat sits in the car, tries to zoom past, and hurls a few more abuses. Now the MLA has this to say.
There are two aspects in this. One was per the police reports, overriding, over-speed riding. The driver was her friend Tarun. He has been penalized. Second part, you are saying about the hurt of the reporters. If you say, sir, is the hurting of anybody, sorry for that.
But for how long will this VVIP arrogance continue? Is it time to punish them? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
And breaking news now, State Home Minister Araga Gyanendra said that MLA Arvind Limbavali's daughter was stopped by the police as it was a case of rash driving, further adding that her friend was driving the car and not she. They paid a fine and had gone away.
ನೋಡಿ ಕಾರು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ರ್ಯಾಶ್ ಆಗಿ ಓಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಅವರ ಬಂಧುಗಳು ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ರು ಹುಡುಗ ಇದ್ರು, ಅವ್ರು ಓಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಪೊಲೀಸರು ತಡೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಪೆನಾಲ್ಟಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಹುಡುಗ ಅವರ ಹೆಸರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪೆನಾಲ್ಟಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಹೊರಟೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಕಾರು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ರ್ಯಾಶ್ ಆಗಿ ಓಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಅವರ ಬಂಧುಗಳು ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ರು ಹುಡುಗ ಇದ್ರು, ಅವ್ರು ಓಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಪೊಲೀಸರು ತಡೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಪೆನಾಲ್ಟಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಹುಡುಗ ಅವರ ಹೆಸರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪೆನಾಲ್ಟಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಹೊರಟೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
So, shocking case of VVIP racism. Republic gets you that exclusive video footage of the daughter of a Karnataka minister lambasting cops and as if who had caught her and stopped her for rash driving. And now another state minister comes to her defense, saying it was just a case of rash driving, not that big an offense to make such a hue and cry, and said that in her defense that it was not she who was driving the car. As you can see in those visuals, the daughter of a minister attacking not just the policeman who had stopped her for rash driving, but also the media as well. So those are visuals there you see of the video that has surfaced of BJP leader Limbavali in a heated argument with police officials in Bengaluru. And Dr. Shankara Guha now joins us on this story. So when we talk about VVIP racism, it's a classic case. A young girl lashing out at the policeman who stopped her for rash driving. Now we have a senior minister in Bengaluru coming to her defense. Your thoughts?
See, let me come to you as a doctor first. Children mimic their social behavior, the social environment that they see. We children always learn from elders at home. It is most unfortunate that she has picked up the arrogance at home and displayed it in public. Being the daughter of an ex-minister and a sitting MLA, she should have been all the more responsible and she should have been much more humble and careful. What tops it or what adds icing on the cake is the fact that her father has come out in the open and defended her wrongdoing. Extremely shameful and condemnable. The BJP leadership in the center should take this into very serious consideration and bring these people into their senses. Power has got into their head so much that they don't care for the common man. It is the least that the father and daughter could have done was come out in the open and said, okay, my daughter was wrong, I will correct her. And she should have said, what has happened, let it go. But no. And the police, oh my God, what is wrong with them? Would they have done the same thing to a common man? I'm sure no, they would have jailed them in no time. And they're sitting and listening to her stories. Extremely condemnable. The commissioner of police in Bangalore should take very serious note of this and correct his policemen. Police and law are the same, whether you're the prime minister or you're the common man. It is the same. No special treatment. It is condemnable and we don't accept such behavior.
Well, many thanks, Dr. Guha, for joining us there and for sharing your thoughts with us. A classic case of VVIP raises in their bratish behavior of an MLA's daughter, even as her father comes to her defense and a senior minister as well. Time now for a short break, but coming up on the other side, ahead of crucial Rajya Sabha poll, sources say Sena disappointed with NCP decision. Also coming up, tensions simmer in valley after stone pelting reported in Jammu's Bhadrawa.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
Quick roundup from the world of sports. David Miller carried his sensational IPL form to international cricket as South Africa made a mockery of the Indian bowling attack to gun down their highest ever run chase and race to a 7-wicket win in the opening T20. New Zealand captain Kane Williamson, ahead of the second test at Trent Bridge, said his side took some positives from the first test defeat to England, but he underlined that the tourists are also looking to improve on their individual performances. Two-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu and World Championship bronze winner Lakshya Sen progressed to quarter-finals of the Indonesia Masters Super 500 badminton tournament. With contrasting wins, Sindhu was made to toil hard for over an hour by Gregoria Mariska of Indonesia before winning in the second round. The president of the Russian Olympic Committee claimed that his organization received information that Russia was not admitted to the General Assembly of the European Olympic Committee. The International Olympic Committee had earlier recommended international federations ban Russian athletes as well as Belarusian competitors from all international competitions amidst the war in Ukraine. Croatia's players trained in Copenhagen ahead of Friday's Nations League match against Denmark. Croatia have just 1 point after their first two games. Both played at home, a 3-0 defeat to Austria and 1-1 draw with the world champions France.
Elections for 16 Rajya Sabha seats across 4 states gets underway. AIMIM led support to MVA. Government in Maharashtra says move to defeat BJP. Ahead of crucial Rajya Sabha polls, sources say Sena disappointed with NCP decision. Big twist ahead of polls. Kumaraswamy hits out at Congress, says Congress destroyed secularism in the country. Bratish behavior caught on tape. MLA of Limbavali's daughter abuses cops and media. Tension simmer in valley after stone pelting reported in Jammu's Bhadrawa. Well, it's a race to the Rajya Sabha nail-biting contest today. In fact, this is the biggest news on Republic TV. I'm being joined by Alisha. Alisha, now we are seeing some hectic developments there coming in. You also had told us that many votes have been cast already. And we saw a lot of movement as well. Just a short while back, the AIMIM has said that to defeat BJP, they are tying up. They're tying up with the MVA government. Now, take us through what's happening as of now. All right, right, getting some trouble connecting with Alisha. I'm going to go to Ankit. Ankit, take us through what's happening right now. We're seeing fast and hectic developments there in Maharashtra. Take us through who are the candidates and what is the latest from ground.
Well, the latest from on the ground, and this is Alisha's information, is that right now we have just seen the polling agent for Piyush Goyal, who is the BJP's first candidate in the Rajya Sabha elections. He has just updated us that the party has objected to 3 votes by the Mahavikas Aghadi allies. He says that Jitendra Awad and 2 other MLAs, that is Congress's Yashomati Thakur and Shiv Sena's Suhas Kande, their votes the BJP has objected to. 2 of these people, that is Yashomati Thakur and Suhas Kande, they had shown their authorized agent. They were supposed to show their voting slips. Instead, they handed those slips into that agent's hands. And in the case of Jitendra Awad, he showed it, or who did what is still up for question right now. We'll get confirmation. But 2 of these MLAs, they put the paper in the hands of the authorized agent, and one of them showed it in such a way that everyone could see it. And so this whole process has been videographed, and the BJP is saying that the video should be examined, and then it should be found out whether or not those votes were valid or not, and whether or not they were done in or cast in a valid manner as per the process. So that is the latest that is coming in. So the BJP has objected to 3 votes of the Mahavikas Aghadi in an election to the Rajya Sabha, 6th seat for Maharashtra, where the independent and small party votes were said to be very important, and the NCP has already been dealt a blow in the sense that Anil Deshmukh and Nawab Malik are not voting, and it is the Shiv Sena's second candidate that will suffer if these votes are at all declared invalid, or if the MVA falls short of votes, because it is Sanjay Pawar of the Shiv Sena that is the second candidate. He is up against the BJP's third candidate, and that is Dhananjay Mahadik. And
right, Ankit, hold on there. I want to go to Alisha as well. Alisha is also covering the elections from Maharashtra. Alisha, you got some important information some time back. The BJP has objected on 3 votes of MVA. Just take us through exactly why they have done that. Also, what is going on in terms of the AIMIM NVA tie-up? Now, that is very interesting, Alisha, because categorically in a tweet, the AIMIM has said that we are doing this to defeat BJP. So we are seeing a nail-biting contest coming from Maharashtra.
Well, of course, we are actually seeing a very prestigious election in this Rajya Sabha, which is happening more than 2 decades now. But yes, now talking about the BJP that has been making an allegations, because there are the polling agents of Piyush Goyal, which came out and speaking to the media has clearly stated that there are 3 MLAs, that is Jitendra Awad from NCP, Congress Yashomati Thakur, and Shiv Sena Suhas Kande, whose vote should be taken into the invalid, because there is some of the mislead that has been happened in the house, and specifically that has been taken into the video. The video recording has already been done. So that is the reason they have been going to get in connect with the election commission to make their votes invalid. But yes, now talking about the AIMIM, see at this point of time whether it's a vote of a 287 member of the MPs, specifically talking about for this Rajya Sabha election. It's very important even for the BJP and for the Shiv Sena, because it's actually a very litmus test for Mahavikas Aghadi. Even earlier we saw, even when the elections that happened, that went unopposed. But at this point of time where the BJP and the Shiv Sena, who fielded their extra candidates, really have to see, because at one side where the BJP is showing been very much confident about it, that they are going to get 3 seats, where the Shiv Sena, which has been fighting for 2 seats, footing the candidate that is Sanjay Raut and Sanjay Pawar. But the questions comes for the Sanjay Pawar and Dhananjay Mahadik of Shiv Sena. So we are seeing, we are continuously witnessing that the MLAs that has been coming here continuously been speaking to the media. But yes, the allegation that has been made by Bharatiya Janata Party, that is the polling agent of Piyush Goyal, who has been making more allegations. We'll talk to Raj Purohit. Sir, एक तरफ अब महाविकास आघाड़ी के खिलाफ जो है ये बताया जा रहा है कि 3 जो MLAs हैं उनके वोट्स इनवैलिड है. अगर आप इसके बारे में जानकारी.
बिल्कुल, उन्होंने जो प्रक्रिया के विरुद्ध में आइडेंटिफिकेशन हो जाए ऐसा उन्होंने दूसरों को बता के किया है. ये तो बिल्कुल सरासर इलेक्शन लॉ के विरुद्ध में है और उनके तीनों के जो अधिकार है वोट देने का वो बर्खास्त होना चाहिए.
तो ये मांग बीजेपी की है और खास तौर पर क्या इलेक्शन कमीशन को इसके बारे में जानकारी दी गई है कि
आप रिटर्निंग ऑफिसर को दी है, अभी उसके ऊपर जो हायर ऑब्जर्वर आए हैं उनको दी है और उसके ऊपर की कार्रवाई होगी. कड़क से कड़क कार्रवाई करवाने के लिए हम बातें करेंगे और जो भी हमारा हक है एक जो ऑथराइज ऑब्जर्वर है उसको बताना चाहिए. तीनों को बताया तो तीनों को जो जिन्होंने बताया मतलब कानून भंग किया है तो उनके विरुद्ध एक्शन होना ही चाहिए और ये तीनों मत जो है ये बर्खास्त होना ही चाहिए.
Well, of course, that was BJP Raj Purohit who is giving the information that whether it is Congress, NCP or Shiv Sena who clearly showed their vote to the parties and not to the representative that has been elected, that has been designated for this. We even know that it's an open ballot where the MLAs who has been giving a vote, they're giving this the vote to specifically to their party, and of course the Shiv Sena has already issued a whip. For more, for more, we'll talk to the more BJP MLAs who's been present here. But yes, this is an allegation that has been made by the Bharatiya Janata Party against Mahavikas Aghadi, clearly stating that even in an open ballot, they have to show their vote to their representative and not to the parties. But when it comes to the Shiv Sena Suhas, or whether it is Jitendra Awad, who is a cabinet minister, or Yashomati Thakur, they have clearly showed their vote openly in the house that has been claimed by the Bharatiya Janata Party, and that is the reason they have already went to the returning office and they have been asking, they have been requesting. This is from the polling agent of the Piyush Goyal, which are requesting them that they should consider the vote of this 3 MLAs should be invalid. So, well, and now when talking about the AIMM, I'll come back to the AIMM because it's very important, of course, the each and every vote, whether it is for BJP or whether it is for Mahavikas Aghadi, because every vote is going to be counted. And of course now even the NCP knows, because the Shiv Sena knows that the 2 votes of Anil Deshmukh and Nawab Malik, that is yet to be under the scrutiny, because the Bombay High Court has already refused to grant them the interim bail. But another application that is going to be filed by Nawab Malik and Anil Deshmukh to another bench for getting to get a time to seek a vote to come here and vote at the elections within police escort. So that has to be wait and watch, because the application that has already been filed and the hearing is likely to be taken up very easily. I'm joined with BJP MLA Ram Kadam. Sir, if you can speak about, because the BJP has already made a claim that some of the MLAs, that is from the Mahavikas Aghadi, has given that was invalid, that should go invalid because some of the vote that has already shown in the House.
See, there are some rules and regulations. Once any member of Legislative Assembly, he vote. After his voting, he should not show that ballot paper to any other members. And this is a simple rule. And if anyone tries to do that, then that vote is not valid. So now here, the Honorable Cabinet Minister, both are Cabinet Minister, one is Yashomati Thakur and one is Mr. Awad. Both have, after their voting, they can only show their ballot paper to their concerned polling agent. And that polling agent is from their own party. After that, they have to fold that ballot paper and they have to put it in the election box.
This information has been given.
Wait. In this case, what has happened? They have shown that ballot paper, which was completely, the preference was already they have written on that. They show it to the polling agent, and after that, with overconfidence, you can say, or you can say they want to, they do not want to keep their vote valid. There may be any reason, they show it to other members. So showing to other members, there are CCTV footage, everything is there. So Election Commission should not take that vote as a valid vote. So this is our demand. if they do not listen to us, will definitely approach to the court.
Well, of course, this was BJP MLA Ram Kadam clearly stating that the BJP is now demanding to make the vote of those 3 MLAs, that is Jitendra Awad, Yashomati Thakur and Shiv Sena Suhas should be invalid. It's just because not showing to the polling agent, but in fact they have shown their vote in the house, and which is against the law, is what BJP has been claiming for. Yes.
Right, Anisha. Now I want to go across to Aneri, who's in Bengaluru. Aneri, there we know in Karnataka, both the BJP and the Congress have fielded an extra candidate from both sides. Tell us what's happening on ground as of now.
Well, definitely a tussle between the JDS and the Congress continues, but also in the meantime, we have been seeing that the polling is taking place for 4 seats, but there are 6 candidates in fray, and 3 are of BJP, 2 are of Congress, and 1 is of JDS, beg my pardon. And also, as we have been seeing, though BJP has a majority for 2 of their candidates, but also at the same time, we see that there seems to be a cross voting which is taking place between the JDS and the Congress, as 2 of the JDS leaders seems to have done cross voting. So, just some time back, when he happened to speak to the former Chief Minister of Karnataka, Kumaraswamy, he also slammed the Congress party and stated that he will never take up any sort of alliance with the Congress party. Let it be in the future, as we also will be seeing that the Karnataka assembly polls will be taking place next year. But definitely a war of words between the JDS and the Congress, as the Congress has poached 2 of the JDS MLAs, but also at the same time the BJP is pretty much confident over winning the seats here from Rajya Sabha. Well, Nirmala Sitharaman is also one of the main contenders here from BJP, who has been fielded by the BJP for the Rajya Sabha polls. But also at the same time, we see 4 seats but 6 candidates, so definitely a crucial voting taking place, as BJP says that Congress and JDS is they continue to fight, but also at the end of the day they come together as well. But we see that the BJP is still confident and says that they will win all these 4 seats, but also at the same time the Congress is also confident, as they have 70 MLAs, and we will be seeing how this voting goes on as the day proceeds.
All right, Aneri, I would like all Republic TV's ground force there to hold on for a second. There's a report I want to show everybody. Now, in moments from now, the Rajya Sabha polling, in fact, has already begun. The fate of the 4 seats in Karnataka in the Rajya Sabha from there will be decided. But this poll comes on the back of high drama in the state. Here's more on that.
And 24, the contest is for 4 Rajya Sabha seats. The candidate needs 45 preferential votes to win, but 6 candidates are in the fray. The maths indicates that BJP, which has a majority of 121 MLAs, can get 2 MPs elected, while the Congress is expected to get 1 MP elected. However, there are 3 candidates fighting it out for the 4th seat. None of them has adequate number of votes to win. It is highly likely that 2nd and 3rd preferential vote may have to be counted.
Authorities imposed curfew in Bhadarwa, apprehending communal tensions following religious post-harm, hurting the sentiments of the majority of the population. Now we are in Srinagar. We are seeing that majority of the population in the Kashmir Valley too are establishing their protest, registering their protest against the post that hurts the sentiments of the majority of the Muslim population in Jammu and Kashmir. While VJ Mubashir is showing the visuals of the deployment of Jammu and Kashmir police here at the Gantagar, and also the shops here are almost shut in the city center, and also as far as the vehicular movement is concerned, it's very less. It tells you that how the Kashmir is reacting to the post that is there to disturb the communal harmony, and that is why police and the administration in Bhadarwa has also imposed curfew. As far as the deployment of the Jammu and Kashmir police is concerned, we are seeing in majority of the city centers the deployment number has been increased.
this point of time, it's a U-turn. It's a big U-turn coming on the Satyendar Jain matter. Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal, I repeat, Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal has refrained from commenting on the minister. Something new coming in this time. It's a big U-turn coming in on the Satyendar Jain money laundering case. This time, Delhi CM there has refrained from commenting on the minister. Remember, earlier, he has been supporting Satyendar Jain continuously. He has said that he is one of the best ministers. He has said that he is definitely not corrupt and all the charges against him are fake. But this time, the input we're getting here on Republic TV is that a big U-turn has been taken by Arvind Kejriwal, where he has completely refrained from commenting on Satyendar Jain. So the question we're asking is Arvind Kejriwal going to drop his minister? He said, I have nothing to comment on Satyendar. Kejriwal saying, I have nothing to comment on Satyendar after mega evidence on Satyendar Jain. A big U-turn coming in from Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal. Remember that Satyendar Jain, in fact, is in custody of ED right now in connection with a money laundering case. A lot of political face-off has happened over Satyendar Jain's corruption charges which are leveled against him, and he has, in fact, what exactly that Arvind Kejriwal said. Let's listen in right now.
मैं बहुत ज़्यादा कह नहीं सकता क्योंकि वो तो हिरासत में है, उनसे हमारा सीधा कोई संपर्क नहीं है, तो मैं इस बारे में कुछ टिप्पणी करने के उसमें नहीं हूँ। कल उनको लेके गए थे हॉस्पिटल में, तो वहाँ पे जो भी हुआ, जब वो ठीक हो गई उनकी तबीयत, तो उनको वापस ले गए। मैं बहुत ज़्यादा कह नहीं सकता क्योंकि वो तो हिरासत में है, उनसे हमारा सीधा कोई संपर्क नहीं है, तो मैं इस बारे में कुछ टिप्पणी करने के उसमें नहीं हूँ। कल उनको लेके गए थे हॉस्पिटल में, तो वहाँ पे जो भी हुआ, जब वो ठीक हो गई उनकी तबीयत, तो उनको वापस ले गए।
All right, that's Arvind Kejriwal making a very substantial climb down, where from defending Satyendar Jain and asking for a Padma Vibhushan for him, now he says no comments. Essentially, dropping the hot potato, it seems. The Delhi Chief Minister now sort of distancing himself from his embattled minister, who has been under scanner of the Enforcement Directorate for some hawala transactions in his companies, some of which were essentially accommodation entries. Let's listen into Arvind Kejriwal once again.
मैं बहुत ज़्यादा कह नहीं सकता क्योंकि वो तो हिरासत में है, उनसे हमारा सीधा कोई संपर्क नहीं है, तो मैं इस बारे में कुछ टिप्पणी करने के उसमें नहीं हूँ। कल उनको लेके गए थे हॉस्पिटल में, तो वहाँ पे जो भी हुआ, जब वो ठीक हो गई उनकी तबीयत, तो उनको वापस ले गए। मैं बहुत ज़्यादा कह नहीं सकता क्योंकि वो तो हिरासत में है, उनसे हमारा सीधा कोई संपर्क नहीं है, तो मैं इस बारे में कुछ टिप्पणी करने के उसमें नहीं हूँ। कल उनको लेके गए थे हॉस्पिटल में, तो वहाँ पे जो भी हुआ, जब वो ठीक हो गई उनकी तबीयत, तो उनको वापस ले गए। मैं बहुत ज़्यादा कह नहीं सकता।
All right, there seems to be a very subtle suggestion on the part of the Delhi Chief Minister that he is not fully aware of the entire facts, since he cannot get in touch with Satyendar Jain, he being under investigation and in custody. The Enforcement Directorate is investigating Satyendar Jain for some hawala transactions that his companies carried out also during a brief period when he was minister, but otherwise in his capacity as office bearer in some companies that have been held by Satyendar Jain, and where transactions have been carried out by his aides, including some of his family relatives, going right up to Kolkata. And Kolkata is a den of some firms which act as those providing accommodation entries. ED carrying out investigations. In fact, during raids, cash has also been found to the tune of about 5 crore rupees plus now over multiple raids. And initially the reaction of the Aam Aadmi Party was to double down in defense of Satyendar Jain. Sardar RP Singh of the BJP joins us. Mr. Singh, it seems that some facts have emerged which make the Delhi Chief Minister sort of take a very nuanced position on Satyendar Jain now. He seems to be distancing himself
or not being aware of all the facts since Mr. Jain is in custody, you think the position is evolving for the Aam Aadmi Party after all the raids that have been carried out?
Where did the 16 crore rupees came from? Whose money was that? Which was transferred to the companies in Kolkata, and from there it was routed to companies in Delhi. And probably Mr. Jain has answered that, and thus leading to Mr. Kejriwal withdrawing his feet now.
Yes, of course, Mr. Singh, they have to answer, and investigation, in fact, is going on. But what is important is that Mr. Kejriwal, the Delhi Chief Minister, who doubled down with this in support of Satyendar Jain earlier, even asking for a Padma Bhushan, now seems to be having some thoughts.
As I said, when things are more clear, Mr. Satyendar Jain would have revealed certain things, and then Mr. Kejriwal is a former IRS officer. He would know what all Mr. Jain could have revealed in front of ED, and then probably Mr. Jain would also send some message to Mr. Kejriwal through his family members. The fact is that Mr. Jain still need to answer, and then if he have answered, then Mr. Jain is in soup, and
then what?
Because the 16 crore rupees still is in question.
All right. Thank you so much. This is RP Singh of the BJP reacting to Arvind Kejriwal's statement, where he seems to be distancing himself with the ongoing investigation in Satyendar Jain matter, who is a minister in his government. Shivangi.
Right, we are getting some other news right now. Republic TV has accessed the CCTV footage of the May 30th accident on the Bandra-Worli sea link, which claimed the lives of 2 people. Here's more on that.
Watch the CCTV footage dated 30th May on the Bandra-Worli sea link. A 43-year-old businessman made his driver to stop the car to save a bird that hit the car. They parked their car to the side of the sea link and went to check on the bird. Minutes later, the two met a watery end after a speeding cab rammed into them. Due to the impact, Jariwala and his driver were flung into the air. While the businessman died on the spot, his driver, who was admitted in hospital, succumbed to injuries later. According to the police, the taxi driver who was responsible for the accident has been arrested for rash and negligent driving and causing death due to negligence. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Well, top national updates. An advocate immolated himself in Rajasthan over alleged harassment by the authorities. Advocate Hansraj Mavalia succumbed to severe burn injuries after setting himself on fire inside the sub-divisional magistrate's office. In the suicide note, he blamed the sub-divisional magistrate Rakesh Kumar and Khandela's SHO for this extreme step. After a BJP MLA's daughter was accused of misbehaving with police personnel who fined her for overspeeding, Karnataka Home Minister has now played down the incident, terming it as an incident of rash driving. Incidentally, the MLA's daughter was seen on tape allegedly abusing the cops and media for covering lawlessness. The Supreme Court has dismissed a special stray round of counselling to fill the 1,456 seats in NEET PG. These seats notably have remained vacant for the conduct of a stray round of counselling for all India quota. The top court dismissed the plea, stating the quality of medical education cannot be compromised, which affects public health. PM Modi inaugurated a healthcare complex and specialty hospital and launched several projects worth rupees 3,050 crores in Gujarat.
Well, coming up next after a short break, we will be seeing how Rajya Sabha polls are underway in 4 states, Maharashtra, Haryana, Karnataka and also Rajasthan, as we see that there is a big fight going on for the Rajya Sabha elections. Well, all eyes on that coming up next after a short break.
Viewers, in Mumbai, as the countdown for the voting ending in Maharashtra expires, a big subplot is the revelation that the AIMIM's 2 MLAs are siding with the MVA in this crucial election for the 6th Rajya Sabha seat. There's a big controversy, especially because the AIMIM has constantly been called the B team of the BJP. And so we'll get you all those details after a short break. Stay with Republic for all the news and updates from the Rajya Sabha polls.
है और हाईवे पर जो एक्सीडेंट होते हैं उसमें फर्स्ट गोल्डन आवर जिंदगी के लिए बहुत
A federal aviation accident investigator will be sent to Hawaii to investigate after a tour helicopter crashed on a remote Big Island lava field, injuring all 6 on board. The Bell 407 helicopter left Kona International Airport about 5 p.m. on Wednesday on a sightseeing tour and crashed about 30 minutes later. Near the southernmost tip of the island, all 6 on board were injured. US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris met with Caribbean leaders at the Summit of the Americas to emphasize deepening US-Caribbean ties and strengthening the partnership with America's neighbors. The meeting was an important opportunity for the President and Vice President to connect with the Caribbean community leaders to talk about the challenges the nations face and the best way to collaborate with these regional partners. The new president of Somalia has warned that his country faces another famine as it remains gripped by a prolonged drought. Hassan Sheikh Mohamud issued the warning after his inauguration as the country's new president earlier this week. UN humanitarian agencies also warned of a historic 4th consecutive failed rainy season in Somalia. The president also spoke of the security challenges posed by extremist groups in the country. A man opened fire at a business in western Maryland, killing 3 people before the suspect and a state trooper were wounded in the shootout. The Washington County Sheriff's Office says a 4th victim is critically injured. The suspect then fled in a vehicle. He was tracked down by Maryland State Police. The suspect and a trooper were also wounded in an exchange of gunfire. Both were being treated for their wounds. A wildfire in southern Spain forced the evacuation of 2,000 people amid fears that torrid weather may feed the blaze. Emergency agencies deployed almost 1,000 firefighters, military personnel and support crews to fight it as water-dropping helicopters could be seen in the
Well, top headlines at this hour. Election for 16 Rajya Sabha seats across 4 states gets underway. AIMIM led support to MVA government in Maharashtra says move to defeat the BJP. Ahead of crucial Rajya Sabha polls, sources say Sena disappointed with NCP decision. Big twist ahead of polls. Kumaraswamy heads out at Congress, says Congress destroyed secularism in the country. Bratish behavior caught on tape. MLA Limbavali's daughter abuses cops and media. Tension simmer in valley after stone pelting reported in Jammu's Badirwa.
All right, welcome back, viewers. We continue our rolling coverage of the Rajya Sabha polls that are happening for 16 seats in 4 states. Let's go back to Maharashtra, where all the action is. In fact, the BJP has just a while back asked for 3 votes of MBA legislators to be cancelled because, according to them, those votes were showed to party leaders other than the polling agent. Alisha joins us from outside the Vidhan Sabha in Mumbai. Alisha, more details about this development, whether the speaker or the returning officer, in fact, not the speaker, has paid any heed to the BJP request of cancelling 3 votes, because that's going to have consequences for the results.
Well, of course, the Bharatiya Janata Party, which has already claimed that there are 3 votes of Minister Jitendra Award, Yashomati Thakur, and Shiv Sena Suhas that has been invalid. So the explanation that has been given by Bharatiya Janata Party, that is the polling agent of Piyush Goyal, who has claimed that these 3 MLAs has not only showed it to the polling agent, that is the representative of the parties, but also showed it in the house, which is invalid and against the law. So let me tell you this is an open ballot, of course, and the voter the MLA who is going to give a vote can only show his vote to the representative that has been allotted. But what is the claim that has been made by the Bharatiya Janata Party, clearly stating that the ministers, the leaders of Mahavikas Aghadi not only showed it to the representative of the party, but also to the house, which is completely invalid, and that is the reason they are going to make a complaint to the returning office. So the information has already been given to the returning officer. Now we have to wait what are the action that has been taken, because they have been demanding that till the time the action has not been initiated, the vote should be considered as invalid till the time they are going to ask continue. They are going to protest some of the other day if it's not taken into consideration, because we know this at this point of time, each and every vote to any either of the party, whether it is Mahavikas Aghadi or whether it is Bharatiya Janata Party, it's very important. We know the series of meetings that has held in with Mahavikas Aghadi, or whether it is BJP, with the independent MLAs, with the other small parties. Even today, where Imtiaz Jalil of AIMM has shown support to Mahavikas Aghadi, and MNS has the support, has given a support to Bharatiya Janata Party. So at this, the claim of Bharatiya Janata Party against the Mahavikas Aghadi, we have to wait what is the action that has been initiated by the returning officer.
Right. Abhishek, the Rajya Sabha polling in Karnataka has also begun, Alisha and Abhishek. Now, the fate of the 4 seats in the Rajya Sabha from Karnataka will be decided. But this poll comes on the back of high drama in the state. Here's a look at the mega build-up to the big vote and results.
It's poll day in Rajya Sabha. Ballots, voting and a mega result. As polling action will pick up between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. today, here's a roundup of the mega build-up and the way things stand in Karnataka. In Karnataka, there are 4 Rajya Sabha MP positions up for grabs. BJP has fielded 3 candidates, the Congress has fielded 2 and the JDS has fielded 1. Each candidate needs the support of 45 MLAs to pull through.
Something interesting has happened in Karnataka just before the polls. In fact, the JDS, which earlier said it was moving its MLAs to a resort to keep its flock safe, later said that the Congress party should support their candidate. Kumaraswamy even spoke to Republic TV. Now, his appeal came a few hours after the Congress party and Sidramaya said that JDS MLAs should vote for the Congress candidate Mansoor Ali Khan.
Whatever allotment they will give to the MLAs of Congress for the second candidate, for the first preferential vote,
मांग की जा रही है, उनको फिलहाल बीजेपी के स्पोक पर्सन की पोस्ट से सस्पेंड कर दिया गया है, लेकिन नवीन जिंदल और साथ ही साथ नुपुर शर्मा की जो अरेस्टिंग है उसकी मांग भी यहाँ पर की जा रही है। तो दिल्ली का ये जामा मस्जिद का इलाका है, सबसे बड़ी जो मस्जिद है वो यहाँ पर है और दूर दूर से लोग यहाँ पर टूरिस्ट भी आते हैं और साथ ही साथ जिस तरीके से जुम्मे की जो नमाज है वो अदा की गई, उसके बाद ही ये प्रदर्शन यहाँ पर किया जा रहा है। अपने कैमरा पर्सन निशान से कहूँगी एक बार तस्वीरें ठीक से दिखाएं किस तरीके से यहाँ पर प्रदर्शन हो रहा है। कुछ लोगों से हम बात करते हैं। सर, आप लोग यहाँ पर प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं, कुछ कहना है इस पर?
जो करा इन्होंने गलत किया है वो
आप लोग अरेस्टेड
बोलना नहीं चाहिए।
All right, these are live pictures from outside Jama Masjid in New Delhi. Huge crowds gathered after the Friday prayers, demanding action against Nupur Sharma, who has already been booked by the Delhi police under sections 153A, 153B of the IPC, which is about affecting community relations in the society. Of course, connected with the FIR is another FIR in which Asaduddin Owaisi and Yati Narsingaround have also been named for the same charges, including 30 others. But these faithful today coming out after Friday prayers and demanding action against Nupur Sharma for the comments she made during a television debate on Prophet Muhammad. Seems like a few hundred of them. Remember, similar protests just a few days back, in fact exactly a week back in Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh, had turned violent with the protesters picking up stones against the police. The pictures are from outside the Jama Masjid, the steps that lead up to the prayer pavilion, and it's a congested area. Protests seem to be peaceful, and let's go to Aishwarya, our executive editor, on the pictures. Aishwarya, protests, fresh protests, this time from outside Jama Masjid in Delhi. What reports you are getting? Was permission taken to carry out these protests, unlike in the case of Kanpur, which turned violent?
Well, Abhishek, this is happening inside the premises of Jama Masjid, outside gate number 1, which is right next to the residence of the Shahi Imam. It is happening on the footsteps of the main gate, that is gate number 1 of Jama Masjid. This is happening inside. This is a peaceful protest, but then demand of action against Nupur Sharma and then Naveen Jindal, both BJP leaders against whom the party has taken the action, is being raised. This is a peaceful protest which is happening once again inside the premises of Jama Masjid. This is happening inside on the footsteps right next to the residence of the Shahi Imam. This is happening right next to gate number 1. That is what we are being primarily told. This is happening inside. There is adequate amount of security outside Jama Masjid, but this is happening well within. And this is happening on the footsteps. They are demanding for action against Nupur Sharma. They are demanding action against another former BJP leader, Naveen Jindal, because now BJP has taken action against both. But then this is happening. This is a protest which is happening live. We are getting you live visuals from the location. We are getting you visuals of people who have gathered in huge numbers. Yes, as you said, the security apparatus. There is adequate amount of security, and if you just run the camera across, it is right in front of gate number 1, right inside the gate number 1. Because we have our teams present there. Our colleague Anju Nirwan is there trying to speak to people. People are angry. People are demanding action. It's a peaceful protest happening inside. Yes, Abhishek.
Aishwarya, also any suggestion, any reports that what about the police presence? Was permission taken? Because this cannot be impromptu. The numbers suggest that this is a very organized protest. Who are the organizers?
Well, Abhishek, this is after the Friday prayers. This is happening inside the premises. There is no permission required of any amount of gathering inside the Jama Masjid premises. Once again, if you see, and if we could just zoom out our cameras, you will see that it is happening well within the premises of Jama Masjid. This is happening within gate number 1, to which very close is the residence of Shahi Imam himself, and you can see that gate which shows gate number 1. So it was happening inside. Now people are, when they come out, it's a very congested lane on all 3 sides. It's a T-point right next to gate number 1. As you're also aware, this is old Delhi. Lanes are very narrow, so even 50 people gathering on these lanes, and it's perpetually 24/7 full of traffic. But this gathering was happening, or this peaceful protest was happening inside the premises of Jama Masjid. Hence, we are being told that no prior information was there. But then, despite that, there is adequate amount of police and also paramilitary forces present there. We have our colleagues Anju Nirvan and then the others there. Once they disperse, then this whole crowd will come out of 5 different gates of Jama Masjid. We are being told, for around 15 to 20 minutes they protested right at gate number 1 of Jama Masjid, demanded action against Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal. Now we are being told that the people are still present and few of them have even come out of gate number 1. That is where police is now telling them to disperse off. Yes, Abhishek.
Right. Aishwarya, it's very reassuring that the police presence is there. The protests are peaceful. They are well within the premises of the Jama Masjid and that permission is not needed. But why do you need to protest now? Of course, they're right, but Nupur Sharma has already been booked.
Yes, they say police needs to be swift. They say that because she was a BJP leader, because she was with the ruling dispensation, action against her was delayed, action against her was not to the extent to which action has been taken against others. So this is a political, there is a political angle to it as well, but these protests are happening right after the Friday prayers. So Delhi police had preempted it, and there was a massive amount of Delhi police and also paramilitary presence on all the 5 gates of Jama Masjid. These are the visuals from right beyond gate number 1 of Jama Masjid, around 10 to 15 minutes prior. These are first and exclusive visuals which Republic is getting for our viewers. And now, because we are also being told, Abhishek, that few of these people, around a couple of hundred of these people, came out of gate number 1. That is when police told them and requested them to disperse. And even the local Aman party, which is comprised of all religions together, they have been told to disperse. They have been told that they need to disperse and they cannot stand right outside Jama Masjid. Till the point they were within the premises of Jama Masjid, they had their right to basically peaceful gathering, but no permission. Yes, Abhishek.
Also, these protests are more delayed than the delayed action by police against Nupur Sharma. So I think the locus collapses when the police is already investigating. And that's why I come to this, because you mentioned there could be a political angle. Are these being done for the camera? Are they protesting because they want to be seen that they have also taken some action, that is the political leadership who might have guided these protests?
Abhishek, because when you have seen leaders to the likes of AIMIM chief Asauddin Owaisi getting into it, there is an FIR in which even the AIMIM chief has been mentioned, those 31st names, those 31 names, which includes the AIMIM leader, and then so on and so forth. So we've seen that how even in Uttar Pradesh we have the Samajwadi Party coming out and questioning. So this is something which is not only preempted by the local law and order administration in Delhi, but also in several parts of Uttar Pradesh, whether it is Unnao, whether it is Kanpur, whether it is Lucknow. To the matter of fact, there is Section 144 deployed in Kanpur, Bijnor, in the capital city of Uttar Pradesh, just because they do not want these peaceful gatherings to turn violent after the Friday prayers. So this is something which is very significant. There is a political angle to it, because it is not only about, as you said, raising a question on why action against Nupur Sharma or Naveen Jindal has been delayed. Even these protests, as you correctly mentioned, are taking place at a very delayed time. But hence, they have a right to peaceful protest. But then these protests need to be according to the law. And as we are just being told and reassured, we are being told by the local law and order authorities that this protest or this gathering was well within the premises of Jama Masjid. And as soon as a couple of hundred people decided to come out of gate number 1, they were told to disperse, as they had no permission of any protest or gathering outside the premises of Jama Masjid. This is after the Friday prayers, and hence Delhi police and then the other law enforcement agencies were already prepared, because there have been several calls and we've seen that strictest possible action are being taken against those people who are basically trying to propagate hate speech. And hence, in the present scenario, such kind of scenes which are now coming. Yes, Abhishek.
Aishwarya, stay on. So just sort of recapitulating what has happened. Prime Friday prayers at Jama Masjid like they happened in Kanpur, and protests coming out of the prayers by the faithful. So in fact, we should emphasize that these are peaceful protests going on as of now, and in fact the police is already there on the spot. We can see a reasonable police presence engaging with the crowd and asking them to leave and finish the protests if they have done so. And these are about a few hundred people at the footsteps that lead up to the gate number 1 atop and onto the prayer pavilion of the mosque. This is the biggest mosque in Delhi and of historical significance. And we are seeing these protests happening right outside the mosque by the faithful who had come to pray for the Friday prayers or participate in the Friday prayers. And these protesters are demanding action against former BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma, who made some comments on Prophet Muhammad. And these protests are a little delayed in the sense that the police has already moved in and booked Nupur Sharma, as also 32 others, including Yati Narsinganand and AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi, to which he had responded by saying that this is a balancing act. What's wrong with being balanced? Having said that, protesters engaging there with police has asked these protesters to finish this sit-in and move on once the prayers are over and they're done with their protests. Jama Masjid in New Delhi, site of fresh protests on the Nupur Sharma matter, and this comes 2 days after police has already taken action and booked Nupur Sharma, and the case is under investigation with the forensics unit of the Delhi police also looking into social media posts and to see who spread communal messages and to what extent, which side, which community, which political party was involved. It's going to be a very deep investigation. It's going to lead to arrests. It's going to lead to conclusion, and it's going to take these communal posts, investigation into these communal posts to a logical conclusion as to where it started, who started the fire, and who spread it. And in that context, I think these protesters should know that action is being taken. Police there present and communicating to them to move on after the prayers are over and their protests are done. In the pictures, we can see a few hundreds of protesters. It should be emphasized the protests are peaceful and they're taking place outside the Jama Masjid in an area, as Aishwarya informed, they are happening in within the precincts of the mosque, and permission is not required for the gathering, and that's why perhaps they could happen, because remember, like in the case of Kanpur, there was no permission to carry those protests, and that's why after the police confronted them, the matter turned violent. We are seeing pictures from outside Jama Masjid in New Delhi where protesters have gathered after Friday prayers in almost a repeat of visuals that we had seen from Kanpur, except for that permission had been denied in the case of Kanpur, and there seems to be cooperation with police in this case, and that's why we are seeing very peaceful protests happening. So perhaps proactive engagement on the part of police, taking care that this does not turn into a law and order situation, and the community wanting action against Nupur Sharma for her comments on Prophet Muhammad. It's a matter which has been a matter of debate across the country for a fortnight now. In the heat of the moment, Nupur Sharma, BJP spokesperson at that time, mentioning something about Prophet Muhammad which has not been liked by the community. Since then, it turned into a diplomatic row as well between India and Middle Eastern nations, and the OIC representing the Muslim countries, while it has been handled deftly at the level of Ministry of External Affairs, and tempers have calmed down, it's little surprising that protests now happen. In fact, in pictures we can see some sloganeering also happening. This is in Saharanpur, so protests now coming in from Saharanpur as well. Anju Nirvan is at the Jama Masjid, even as we get pictures from Saharanpur, which is the headquarters of Devband school in Devband town. In fact, Anju, you are there at the ground. आप बताएं जरा क्या हो रहा है, क्या पुलिस ने समझा के कुछ प्रोटेस्टर्स को बाहर निकाला है या अभी भी वो बैठे हुए हैं और कितनी देर तक ये चलेगा?
जी देखिए, मैं आपको बताना चाहूँगी कि यहाँ पर दिल्ली के जामा मस्जिद में नमाज अदा करने के बाद जितने भी नमाजी थे वो यहाँ पर प्रोटेस्ट करने लगे, क्योंकि जिस तरीके से अभी बीते दिनों बयानबाजी हुई, नुपुर शर्मा का जो बयान था, नवीन जिंदल का जो बयान था, उससे लोग नाराज़ हैं। और साथ ही साथ जिस तरीके से देश के अलग अलग इलाकों में जो पथराव हो रहे हैं और जो पैनिक सिचुएशन बनी हुई है, उसी के मद्देनज़र यहाँ पर लोगों के अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा गुस्सा था और उसी वजह से लोग यहाँ पर प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे थे। हालांकि ये शांतिपूर्ण प्रदर्शन किया, लोगों ने कोई पथराव नहीं किया, किसी तरीके से तनाव नहीं पैदा किया, लेकिन जब नमाज अदा करी तो उसके बाद उनकी बहुत भारी जो भीड़ थी वो मस्जिद से बाहर निकली। उसके जो एरिया था, उसके जो प्रमाइसिस था, उसके बाहर खड़े होकर लगातार ये लोग हाथों में तख्ती लेकर जो प्रदर्शन है वो कर रहे हैं। हालांकि यहाँ पर जो फोर्सेस है उसकी भारी डिप्लॉयमेंट है, यहाँ पर सीआरपीएफ के भी जवान हैं और साथ ही साथ दिल्ली पुलिस के भी जवान यहाँ पर डिप्लॉय किए गए हैं लोगों को कंट्रोल करने के लिए। लेकिन अभी भी जो जामा मस्जिद का जो पूरा इलाका है, यहाँ पर लोगों की भीड़ जमा है और लोग लगातार अपनी जो नाराजगी है, जो लगातार बीते दिनों बयानबाजी हुई है, उससे उसकी खिलाफत कर रहे हैं। प्रॉफिट मोहम्मद के खिलाफ जो बयानबाजी हुई, पैगंबर के खिलाफ जो बयानबाजी हुई, उससे लोगों के अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा गुस्सा है और उसी की वजह से लोग यहाँ पर प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं, हाथों में तख्ती लेकर, हाथों में इनके वाइट पेपर्स है और लगातार ये लोग मांग कर रहे हैं। और बीते दिनों जिस तरीके का पूरा माहौल रहा है, लोगों के अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा गुस्सा है। वो ये कह रहे हैं कि हिंदुस्तान की जो गंगा जमुना तहजीब है, हिंदू मुसलमान का जो भाईचारा है, वो इससे खराब हो रहा है जिस तरीके से ये बयानबाजी हो रही है। और उसी को लेकर यहाँ पर लोग जो है प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं। हालांकि फोर्सेस जो है पूरी तरीके से इस भीड़ को कंट्रोल करने की कोशिश कर रही है और उनसे लगातार दरख्वास्त कर रही है कि वो अपने घरों को और जाए। जितने भी लोग हैं नमाज अदा कर चुके हैं, जुम्मे की जो नमाज है वो अदा हो चुकी है, इसलिए लोगों से कहा जा रहा है कि वो अपने घरों की ओर जाए, यहाँ पर मार्केट के इलाके में यहाँ पर हल्ला ना मचाए और किसी भी तरह की पैनिक सिचुएशन ना क्रिएट करे, क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा यहाँ पर लोगों की भीड़ है और उसी को कंट्रोल करने के लिए यहाँ पर जो फोर्सेस है वो लगी हुई है। लेकिन लोग जो है वो अभी भी जो प्रोटेस्ट है वो कर रहे हैं, अपना प्रोटेस्ट दर्ज करा रहे हैं, क्योंकि लगातार जो बयानबाजी हुई है उनका कहना है कि हमारे जो सेंटिमेंट्स हैं वो हर्ट हुए हैं और इसीलिए हम ये जो प्रदर्शन है वो कर रहे हैं। जी, बैक टू स्टूडियो।
अंजू, हमारे पास और भी तस्वीर आ रही है। वी आर गेटिंग पिक्चर्स फ्रॉम सहारनपुर ऑल्सो ऑफ सिमिलर प्रोटेस्ट। आप जरा बताएं कि क्या अगर वहाँ नारेबाजी हो रही है तो क्या नारेबाजी हो रही है, कितने लोग हैं संख्या में, कितने आपने कहा बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, और पुलिस क्या सफल हो रही है उनको बताने में कि आप समझाने में कि आप यहाँ से जाएं, आपकी पूजा अर्चना, आपकी जो नमाज है वो हो चुकी है?
जी देखिए, मैं आपको बताना चाहूँगी कि यहाँ पर जो ये प्रोटेस्ट किया जा रहा है, अभी तो जो बीते दिनों पैगंबर के खिलाफ जो बयानबाजी हुई, नुपुर शर्मा ने और नवीन जिंदल ने जो बयानबाजी की, उससे लोग यहाँ पर नाराज़ हैं। साफ तौर पे वो लोग अरेस्टिंग की डिमांड कर रहे हैं। वो कह रहे हैं कि इनको अरेस्ट करें, इनको पार्टी जो है वो सस्पेंड करे। हालांकि पार्टी ने उन्हें सस्पेंड कर दिया, लेकिन यहाँ पर जो लोग हैं वो उनकी गिरफ्तारी की भी मांग कर रहे हैं। हालांकि ये जो पूरा प्रदर्शन है शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से हो रहा है, लेकिन क्योंकि यहाँ पर बहुत ज़्यादा भीड़ है, 100 से भी ज़्यादा लोग हैं। मैं आपको बताना चाहूँगी ये जो दरियागंज का जो इलाका है और जामा मस्जिद का जो इलाका है, सबसे ज़्यादा जो मुस्लिम समाज के जो लोग हैं वो यहाँ पर रहते हैं। और जुम्मे की जब नमाज होती है तो बहुत ज़्यादा तादाद में लोग आ जाते हैं। साथ ही साथ जो टूरिस्ट जो जामा मस्जिद घूमने के लिए आते हैं वो भी लोग यहाँ पर हैं। तो इस तरीके से यहाँ पर बहुत ज़्यादा भीड़ है। साथ ही साथ जो शॉपिंग करने के लिए भी जो लोग इस एरिया में आते हैं वो भी यहाँ पर खड़े होते हैं। तो भीड़ बहुत ज़्यादा है। हालांकि फोर्सेस जो है उन्हें कंट्रोल करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, लेकिन लगातार जो लोग हैं वो प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं और साफ तौर पे उनका ये कहना है कि जिस तरीके की बयानबाजी हो रही है उससे हमारे जो सेंटिमेंट्स है, हमारा जो भाईचारा है वो खराब हो रहा है और हम अरेस्टिंग की डिमांड करते हैं, क्योंकि इस तरीके की अगर बयानबाजी होगी तो हमारा जो भाईचारा है वो खराब होगा, हिंदुस्तान की जो गंगा जमुना तहजीब है वो खराब होगी। तो इस तरह की बात यहाँ पर लोग कर रहे हैं। जी,
और कितने समय तक अंजू आपको लगता है कि ये चल सकता है, क्योंकि और भी शहरों में इस तरह के प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे हैं, तो ऐसा लगता है कि शायद कोऑर्डिनेट करके किया गया है।
जी, कोऑर्डिनेशन तो साफ तौर पर नजर आता है, क्योंकि जो जुम्मे की जो नमाज है वो अलग अलग इलाकों में अदा हुई, उसके बाद ही ये प्रदर्शन किए गए। हालांकि जो प्रदर्शन है शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से है और फोर्सेस जो है वो लोगों से अपने घरों की ओर रवानगी के लिए लगातार दरख्वास्त कर रही है। पुलिस कह रही है कि आप अपने घरों की ओर जाएं, लेकिन अभी जो सड़क है यहाँ पर लोगों की भीड़ है और फोर्स जो है वो लगातार उनसे कह रही है कि आप अपने घरों की ओर जाएं, क्योंकि इस तरीके से लगातार जो भीड़ हो रही है उससे यहाँ पर तनाव वाली स्थिति जो है वो पैदा हो सकती है। तो उसी को ध्यान रखते हुए लोगों को लगातार हटाने की बात की जा रही है, लेकिन लोगों की जो भीड़ है वो अभी जस की तस है, लोग अभी भी यहाँ पर बने हुए हैं। जी अभिषेक।
जी, तनाव की थोड़ी स्थिति बनी हुई है। सिचुएशन सीम्स टू बी लिटिल टेंस आउटसाइड Jama Masjid in New Delhi, where protesters have come out impromptu after Friday prayers demanding action against Nupur Sharma, the spokesperson of the BJP, who has since been removed from her post and suspended pending investigation and inquiry. And parallelly, of course, the Delhi police has booked both Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal. Of course, apart from that, 32 others, including Asaduddin Owaisi and Yati Narsinganand. In the intemperate comments made by both the sides, we always forget that the fraying of tempers, if that can be called, happened from both the sides. Comments were made from both the sides. Provocation was there from both the sides. And yet we are seeing protests from one side. And little delayed protest, given the fact that action has already been taken. It's over to Niranjan to take it further from here. Niranjan in Mumbai studios.
Thank you for that, Abhishek. Though I'd like you to stay on with us in this coverage, because this is a big breaking story. Requesting Abhishek to stay with us. Abhishek, in fact, let's go back to the pictures. We have pictures coming in from Srinagar, in Jammu, Ahmednagar, in Moradabad, and from Saharanpur a few minutes back we had those pictures, and now in Delhi. So at least from 6 locations the pictures are coming in. And as we speak, the breaking news update to give our viewers, these are pictures coming in from Delhi's Jama Masjid, where hundreds have gathered after the Friday prayers to mark their protest against the recent comments and the controversy. Okay, meanwhile, the other big breaking news story that we've been tracking in connection with what's going on vis-a-vis the protests and the subject of hate speeches, inflammatory comments that have been made in the post-Gyanvapi episode era. Now, the Delhi police has filed 2 FIRs, one against the former BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma and other against 31 people, including AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi and controversial priest Yati Narsinganand, for allegedly spreading hate, hurting religious sentiments. And these 2 FIRs were filed on Wednesday. The details of which were released on Thursday, shared with the media. I'll go back to Anju, who's joining us from outside the Jama Masjid, to get a word from her, and then we'll continue to get you details of the Rajya Sabha polls as well. Okay, Anju, if I can come back to you. This is a protest. People are marking their protest here in Delhi. We'll go back to Anju. She's live at the Jama Masjid there in Delhi. Meanwhile, 2 FIRs were registered. To give you an update about what's happened so far legally in this particular case, 2 FIRs registered after analysis of social media. Former Delhi BJP media unit head Naveen Kumar Jindal, who was expelled from the party over alleged remarks against the Prophet, and journalist Sabah Naqvi were among those named in the second FIR. 32 people in all, in fact, were named in the FIR, and the cases have been registered against those who were posting and sharing messages against maintenance of public tranquility and incited people on the basis of divisive lines. Now, there have been very, very distasteful and communal and controversial comments from both sides. And these are protests in the wake of the comments that were made from I think mostly Nupur Sharma, which has escalated, and there was a tweet that was put out by Naveen Jindal. Abhishek, legally, where does the case stand vis-a-vis the investigation being carried out by the Delhi police?
Well, Niranjan, so an FIR has been done, investigation has started. As it happens, there is a forensics investigation wing of the Delhi police that is carrying out the investigation, and we are told that they will take a deep dive into social media accounts, social media posts, and are not going to spare anyone. That's what we are being told, that this is going to be the most balanced investigation, if I could use that word, in the history of communal violence and communal comments in the country. They are going to go account by account and post by post and see from where it all began, who was spreading the incendiary post, who was behind them, and I think then it will lead to a conclusion. So I think it's going to be a bit of a long drawn affair.
In some reactions.
These protests are delayed.
Yeah.
And
can I take some live reactions, Abhishek? I think Vikram Singh, the former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, is joining us on the phone line. You can take a question with him as well. I'll just take the first one. Mr. Singh, these protests that you're seeing now in Delhi, earlier in Jammu, also being reported from Srinagar, Moradabad, Saharanpur. Now, law is taking its course and everyone has the right to peaceful protest. But I think everyone's also worried about some of the controversial speeches that are still being made. For example, what happened in Jammu last night.
Absolutely. One would have expected peace, because this kind of an unwarranted, unprovoked breach of the peace is also not acceptable. What has happened? Law is taking its own course. They have been suspended from the party. Criminal cases have also been registered. And now, this seems to be falling into a pattern as it happened in Kanpur, and also attack on the police and the administration. Friday prayer is something, matter of peace and prayer. How can the prayer culminate into violence and attack on the police? I would say that, as in the case of Kanpur, wherever violence has happened, the criminal and the anti-social elements probably had the say. My advice to the police and the administration is to contain this with a very firm hand. Contain this with a very firm hand. Don't allow those who vitiate the public peace and law and order to take law into their own hands. And those who are coming out again with patriotic and offensive statements, book them under the adequate provisions of law. This circus cannot go on till eternity.
Just getting in a breaking news update, Abhishek. Sharing the details of what we are picking up in the newsroom. Dr. Vikram Singh as well. The statement of the Shahi Imam at the Jama Masjid has just come into our newsroom, Abhishek. And the Shahi Imam of the Jama Masjid says, we don't know who are the ones protesting. I think they belong to AIMIM or our Oasis people. We made it clear that if they want to protest, they can, but we will not support them. Abhishek.
That's very interesting, Aishwarya, because earlier Aishwarya was informing that these protests are happening outside the mosque, but also near the residence of Shahi Imam of Jama Masjid. Traditionally, the Jama Masjid is seen as a backyard of the Shahi Imam and his family. So now, if a statement has come from him,
ये भी देखा जा रहा है कि कोई जानबूझ के माहौल को खराब न करे। धर्म गुरुओं के द्वारा भी इस पूरे प्रकरण में बहुत ही सहयोग मिला है। उन लोगों ने जगह जगह पे शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से नमाज संपन्न कराने हेतु सबसे अपील की है। इसका बहुत अच्छा असर है और हम लोग पूरे सौहार्दपूर्ण वातावरण में फ्राइडे का जो ये नमाज है वो संपन्न कराएंगे।
अभी सर देखेंगे सहारनपुर में नमाज के बाद कुछ लोगों ने अल्लाह अकबर के नारे और नुपुर शर्मा को लेकर अपना विरोध दर्ज कराया।
वहाँ ये सूचना मिली थी कि भीड़ काफ़ी हो गई थी, उसके बाद से लोग धीरे धीरे अपने गंतव्य स्थानों पे चले गए।
सर कानपुर को लेकर के कोई अपडेट सर अभी तक?
कानपुर में स्थिति पूर्णतः शांतिपूर्ण है और वहाँ पूरी तरीके से निष्पक्ष कार्रवाई करने के निर्देश शासन की तरफ से और डीजी मुख्यालय की तरफ से दिए गए।
सर उन्नाव का भी सर एक पोस्टर वायरल हुआ था सर, जिसमें
पोस्टर इत्यादि के बारे में लगातार कार्रवाइयाँ हो रही हैं। ये विशेषकर वो लोग हैं जो माहौल को ख़राब करना चाहते हैं, और इसमें कोई किसी धर्म से कोई लेना देना नहीं। जहाँ भी इस तरह के धार्मिक उन्माद फैलाने के इंस्टेंसेस आए हैं वहाँ गिरफ्तारियाँ की गई हैं, और उसमें सभी धर्म के लोग हैं।
सर, दिल्ली में माहौल वहाँ पे लोग इकट्ठे हुए हैं, क्राउड हुआ है, नुपुर शर्मा के खिलाफ कहा जा रहा है कि कड़ी कार्रवाई की जाए, तो दिल्ली का असर सर यूपी के जो जिले
हम लोग पूरी तरीके से सभी स्टेक होल्डर के साथ बात कर रहे हैं, और यहाँ पे स्थिति पूर्णतः शांतिपूर्ण और कंट्रोल में।
ठीक सर, शुक्रिया।
Okay, so that was the statement coming in from the UP police on the protest that was seen in Saharanpur, saying the situation is mostly under control, Abhishek. But another bit of breaking news update now coming in, that the Shahi Imam has said there was no call for a protest from the Masjid committee, and that in fact yesterday when people were planning to protest, we clearly said to them that there is no call for the protest from the Jama Masjid committee. So, and when they say on record that they think that these protesters belonging to the AIMIM or our Oasis people, I think it's incumbent also on all of us to ask for situation to be kept under control and to ensure that everyone maintains peace and calm. Especially when political parties get in, Abhishek, that's when the problem really begins.
Well, absolutely. In fact, this is a very interesting twist coming in, Niranjan, and these seem to be very coordinated protests, because it's not just Jama Masjid in Delhi, but these pictures coming in from Saharanpur, Moradabad and other towns in Uttar Pradesh clearly show that there is someone behind. And if it's not the Dharm Gurus, the religious leaders, the Imams, as the UP ADG Law and Order Prashant Kumar was suggesting, then who's behind these protests? The Shahi Imam's statement could not have been clearer. He has said that, in fact, when some people approached Masjid committee for protest permission yesterday, it was clearly denied, and that they have no role, no hand in these protests emerging. And given the fact that these are happening at so many places, it cannot be impromptu but organized. And that raises the question whether there is some political element to it, as of course Shahi Imam suggesting that these could be AIMIM supporters or supporters of Asaduddin Owaisi, since he has been booked. So are there problems now with a balanced investigation?
Yeah.
Should the investigations only be one-sided? These are very important questions that maybe you can ask Vikram Singh as well.
Mr. Singh, are you there, sir? Dr. Vikram Singh, can you hear me? We may have lost a line with him. But let me quickly get in a word from Manju Nirvan, who's joining us. She's on the ground, so let me get in one word from her on the situation there. Because a bit of news that also came in, suggesting that the situation is under control. This is the police in Delhi. The Delhi police statement saying that people protested at the Jama Masjid against the statements of suspended BJP leaders, but also confirming that the situation was under control and that they had been removed, and the situation is under control now. Anju.
जी देखिए, मैं आपको बताना चाहूँगी कि यहाँ पर दिल्ली के जामा मस्जिद में जो जुम्मे की जो नमाज थी उसको अदा करने के बाद लोगों ने यहाँ पर प्रोटेस्ट किया, और जिस तरीके से बीते दिनों में लगातार जो बयानबाजी हुई, जो पैगंबर के खिलाफ बोला गया, प्रॉफेट मोहम्मद के खिलाफ, जो प्रॉफेट मोहम्मद है उनके खिलाफ जो बोला गया, उससे लोगों के अंदर यहाँ पर बहुत ज़्यादा नाराज़गी है। लोग यहाँ पर प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं। हालांकि ये शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से यहाँ पर प्रदर्शन किया जा रहा है, और जो पुलिस है वो लगातार लोगों से कह रही है कि अपने घरों की ओर जाए, और क्योंकि जिस तरीके से लगातार यहाँ पर प्रदर्शन हो रहा है, साफ तौर पर वो अरेस्टिंग की मांग कर रहे हैं नुपुर शर्मा और नवीन जिंदल की, और पुलिस की ओर से यहाँ पर जो जितने भी लोग हैं उनसे साफ तौर पे कहा जा रहा है कि आप लोग शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से अपने घरों की ओर जाएं, क्योंकि जो जुम्मे की नमाज है वो अदा हो चुकी है, और यहाँ पर सड़कों के आसपास लोग इकट्ठा ना हो। पुलिस की ओर से पूरी कोशिश की जा रही है। फोर्सेस की जो डिप्लॉयमेंट है वो यहाँ पर बढ़ा दी गई है। दिल्ली पुलिस के जो जवान हैं वो यहाँ पर बढ़ा दिए गए हैं, साथ ही साथ सीआरपीएफ के भी जो जवान हैं वो भी यहाँ पर बढ़ा दिए गए हैं। लेकिन जो लोगों की भीड़ है वो बनी हुई है। सड़कों को लेकिन खाली करने का काम पुलिस कर रही है, कोशिश कर रही है कि लोग जो है वो अपने घरों को ओर जाएं, क्योंकि जो सिचुएशन है अगर इस तरीके से लोग लगातार सड़क के आसपास इकट्ठा रहे तो कहीं ना कहीं पैनिक सिचुएशन हो सकती है। तो ऐसे में पुलिस की ओर से भी कोशिश की जा रही है कि जितने भी जो नमाजी हैं वो अपने घरों की ओर जाएं। लेकिन जो लोग यहाँ पर प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं साफ तौर पर उनका ये कहना है कि नुपुर शर्मा और साथ ही साथ नवीन जिंदल है उनकी अरेस्ट हो, क्योंकि जिस तरीके के बयानबाजी उन्होंने की उससे हमारा जो भाईचारा है वो अफेक्टेड हुआ है। जी
Okay, stay with me. Let's also go across to Harsha to get a factual update on the situation on the ground, whether the protests continue or whether the police have been able to send them all back home. Harsha, what is the situation at the Jama Masjid? Harsha.
Yes, firstly I would like to tell you how it all started. A viral message was circulated on social media, on different platforms of social media, saying that the hate speeches and these things are mongering against Muslim community, and the comments are being made against our Prophet. Therefore today Muslims will close their shop. But I would like to tell you that when we reached here in Jama Masjid area at around 1 o'clock, when the Friday namaz was started, at that time no shops in Jama Masjid area, Jama Masjid premises were closed, because all of the people who were living in that area, they told us that All India Muslim Personal Law Board has clearly stated that we condemn it. It was fake message and we are not going to hold any protest. But after that, once the namaz was done, we will show you the visuals of Jama Masjid. People are still there, namazis are still there, but the protest
just getting in an update. Just 1 minute. Just be with me, Harsha. Just getting in an update there. Just getting in an update. There was a live pictures coming in from Hyderabad, from Delhi's Jama Masjid. Let's quickly also go across to Abhishek, who's picking up more details. If I can go back to Abhishek for more details of the situation there. Seems like things are under control now. Abhishek, let me go across to Abhishek and show you the multiple windows of Moradabad, New Delhi, Saharanpur, Lucknow, Jammu, the different pictures that we had coming in now. Abhishek.
Yes, Niranjan. So we continue to get pictures of protests, but there is a statement coming in from Delhi police which says that people protested at Jama Masjid against the statements of suspended BJP leader Nupur Sharma and expelled BJP leader Naveen Kumar Jindal. However, it says that we have removed the people from there. The situation is under control now. Also, we had earlier UP ADG Law and Order Prashant Kumar clearly mentioning that situation is under control and instructions have come in from the religious heads, the imams also, to not let protests go out of hand. In fact, despite that, 130 companies of PAC were deployed and situation kept under control. We have seen these pictures coming in from Moradabad, from Saharanpur, from Deoband, from Bhadarwa in Jammu, from Srinagar and many other parts of the country. But what is important is that by and large these protests are peaceful, even if little delayed, given the fact that Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal have already been booked and investigation is on by Delhi police. Niranjan.
Yes. Thank you for that, Abhishek. In fact, we'll just get you the latest updates. We'll keep a close track on the situation here. Let's continue to get you some more updates on where the case stands legally. Abhishek was a few minutes back getting us the details of how many people were booked and why they were booked. And it's across the board, but some people, including the AIMIM, which is being accused of, staging the protest. The Shahi Imam has released a statement that those protesting could be from the AIMIM. They called it sidism, they called it balancewad, and you saw the kind of comments that came in, Abhishek. But the fact is, many comments were made on both sides, and action has been taken against anybody who hurts religious or made any controversial comment on any religion.
Well, absolutely, and that's why this investigation, which is Niranjan, happening on both the sides. If you look at the second FIR, it names 32 and it includes both Asaduddin Owaisi and Yati Narsinganand. I think it would be in the fitness of things to underscore that provocations happened from both the sides. Nupur Sharma in that debate also was reacting to some comment made on Hindu deities, and I think a message has to go that the tolerance that is being asked for has to be shown from the other side as well. And that's why this investigation, which is, we are told, Niranjan, is going to go deep into from where all the messaging started, from where all the posts started, and who was spreading these incendiary messages, and where all they were circulating. So I think it's going to be a long-drawn investigation which is going to take into account provocations and counter-provocations. So that needs to be underscored. These protesters are a little delayed in the sense that action has already started. Police is on the job, and a very comprehensive piece of investigation would come out of these two FIRs that have been filed by Delhi police in the Nupur Sharma, Naveen Jindal case, and the subsequent comments made by all sides. These protests coming in from various towns seems an element of coordination, Niranjan. Even this would need to be investigated because these are not impromptu protests, given the fact that the imams have distanced themselves. The Shahi Imam of Delhi has made it clear that when some people had come to him yesterday, they were clearly denied permission for these protests. There seem to be some political elements who are carrying these out, and if these are political protests and not about religion sensibilities, then they have to be dealt with accordingly. As of now, of course, there is a statement from Delhi police that those protests have been controlled and the situation overall is also in control, that these protesters have been persuaded to leave from the premises of the mosque once prayers are over, which they are. So I think similar requests must have gone from police in other towns and districts as well. But then these pictures clearly suggest an element of coordination, an element of organization after the Friday prayers to carry out these protests without permission. As I said, Niranjan, both the UP police and the Delhi police would be coordinating or should be coordinating an investigation as to who was behind these protests that happened despite no permission asked and despite police already on the job in terms of investigating the communal comments.
Yeah. In fact, I just would like to, Abhishek, tell our viewers also about the kind of people who were booked. There were 32 in all. Just to give you some of the names and who they are and what they've been booked for. There is Shadab Chauhan, who's a peace party leader. He made a controversial comment. There is Sabah Naqvi, who's a journalist. She tweeted on the shivling. There is Hafizul Hassan Ansari, a Jharkhand minister who threatened violence by the minority community. Bihari Lal Yadav, who's an SP leader, he mocked the shivling. Ilya Sharafuddin, self-styled Islamic scholar, attacked Hindu gods. There was Maulana Mufti Nadeem, a cleric who threatened attack. There is Abdur Rahman, a student union leader who attacked the Hindu community. There is R. Vikraman, a VCK spokesperson from Tamil Nadu, who made a comment on Lord Krishna. There is Nagma Sheikh, a TV anchor who insulted shivling. There is Dr. Muhammad Kaleem Turk, a Twitter user who insulted shivling. Asaduddin Owaisi, AIMIM president, he questioned the claims on the shivling. Danish Qureshi, leader of the AIMIM, insulted the shivling. Yati Narsinganand, Hindu priest, made derogatory remarks. Lakshman Das, self-styled Hindu priest, gave rape threat. Pooja Shakun Pandey, a Hindu Mahasabha leader, wanted a ban on namaz. And there's a Twitter handle called Q Sensei which tweeted out controversial posts. And there's Maulana Sarfaraz, who's a cleric who insulted the shivling. Now across the board, now the point of reading out all of this, Abhishek, and the reason why all of them have been booked is for using hate-worthy language. And the police believe that this language was used intentionally. It was discriminatory, can create a situation, can create animosity between groups. There's a serious threat to public tranquility. The language used was filthy, to say the least, saying that it is sufficient to deprave any person on religious lines. And when a probe is underway, I think anybody would expect a responsible political party or a responsible political leader to request everyone to stay calm and to ensure that law and order is maintained. But instead, we are seeing in different parts of the country, people come out in large numbers to protest. Abhishek.
Well, absolutely, Niranjan. Also remember, given the spread of COVID, these can be super spreader protests also. So I think an element of responsibility has to come from community leaders. about what to do and what not to do, and how to coordinate their efforts in a manner that it does not add to the problems already existing. So it's not just about communal issues, action on which is already being taken, and you gave a very comprehensive picture of what is being done. What is important is that despite community leaders asking not to go ahead with these protests, if some people have gone in and are doing this, this also becomes a matter of investigation. So we'll have to check whether the Delhi police picks up an investigation into who was behind these protests. We have to perhaps see whether the Uttar Pradesh police picks up investigation into who coordinated these protests, despite the fact that the imams and the community leaders, the religious leaders, were very clear, as comes out from the statement of the Imam, Shahi Imam of the Jama Masjid, that there is no question whatsoever of giving permission, that it was denied that these could be political people, and in fact very vocally suggesting that these could be supporters of AIMIM. So whether these protests are not aimed at Nupur Sharma but more at stymieing the investigation into the FIR, into the complaint that has been registered by the Delhi police, which includes the name of AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi. Those are very important aspects that would need to be looked into, given the fact that these protests are happening in a situation where tensions were already high post the Kanpur violence, and massive security drill has been put in place to make sure that situation does not go out of hand. Thankfully, we can tell viewers till now, in every town from where these protests are happening, situation is under control, and as of now, as we report, as we are live, there is no violence, and some coordination is happening between police forces in these districts and community leaders to make sure that these protests are brought to an end at the soonest. In fact, some reports suggest that outside the Jama Masjid, the crowd has started trickling out, and the police is making sure that each one of them leaves once the prayers are over, which they are. So I think more like a show of strength, a political show of strength panning out, Niranjan, and we are seeing political elements really taking over, and this is no more just about religion, which is being looked into. All the comments made by people in responsible positions in the country, from the Ministry of External Affairs to the Home Ministry to the BJP, which came out with a very public statement distancing itself from Nupur Sharma before action was taken against her, and Naveen Jindal in fact expelled from the party. I think the establishment has made it very clear that those comments, whatever the provocation that was there at that time, were not the view of the government, the party, or anyone in a responsible position, and that's why the action has been taken. So that should have put paid to all these protests. But if they are happening, despite that, despite the assurances, despite the religious leaders making a statement very publicly that they are not supporting it, despite them asking them not to go ahead with it, Abhishek, who is behind these protests? And I think the Delhi police and the UP police should be coordinating a fresh investigation so that
just getting in more reactions, Abhishek, if I can just interrupt you there for a second. Just getting in Zafar Sareshwala on the phone line. Zafar Sareshwala is a businessman. He's also the owner of Parsoli Corporation and the former chancellor of the Maulana Azad National Urdu University. Now, Zafar Sareshwala, you know the developments of whatever's been happening in the last 10 to 15 days, and then you've had this FR that has been filed, laws taking its course, investigation is on. It's very, very important that everybody maintains calm, everybody lets the law now take its course, isn't it, Zafar?
Yeah, see, the first things first, Government of India reacted immediately. They came, the BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party, issued the statement first. Then they removed and rusticated, Nupur Sharma. He was suspended, that Mr. Naveen Kumar Jindal was rusticated from the party. And also,
take the
Government of India through their embassies, they came out with statement that we don't support, this is not the point of India, this is not even the point of the Government of India. So I think that should be accepted. And then police cases have been filed against Nupur Sharma and Naveen Kumar Jindal. So law will take its course. With regards to the protests, well, it is, I mean, everybody has a right. We are a secular democracy, constitutional, functional democracy. Yes, we have right to protest. But, you know, from such protests, things go out of hand. So if the protest is absolutely peaceful, there is no harm in it. So it is the duty of the people who lead such protests. They should see that no untoward incident happens. There is nothing happens. You protest, yes. Show your, whatever you feel, you're feeling, you're portraying. I think that's it. Beyond that, nothing should happen.
Yeah, I think my colleague Abhishek had a question. Abhishek? Yes, Zafar bhai, my question is, action has been initiated. BJP has made a very public statement distancing itself from the comments. There is an FIR now. Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal have been booked. The Ministry of External Affairs has made its position clear. So if you look at the establishment, every responsible person in the establishment has clearly made their position out, very transparent, and the police is also acting. Why, create this situation where pictures suggest that there is a still problem in the country, there is still trouble in the country?
There is actually, see, I'll tell you, my view is different. I would have, or I would still do that. I will give Nupur a book on the life of the Prophet, and I'll tell her you read without bias, which I have given to a lot of people. And then you make your view about the Prophet. She has been misguided by the Orientalist views which have been emanating for past 600 years. So if these religious scholars, whoever have come out,
और जो लोग आराम से जाकर नियम के अनुसार विधि पूर्वक अब मस्जिद परिसर के भीतर रहकर नमाज पढ़ना चाहते हैं, उनको किसी भी प्रकार की असुविधा ना हो, वे लोग आराम से जाएं, नमाज पढ़ें। आप देख रहे हैं कि आज इस मस्जिद में बड़े ही अशांतिपूर्ण ढंग से लोग अंदर प्रवेश कर रहे हैं, इकट्ठे हो रहे हैं नमाज पढ़ने के लिए। यही स्थिति अन्य मस्जिदों में भी है। पुलिस बल लगा हुआ है और जो लोग नमाज पढ़ना चाह रहे हैं परिसर के भीतर जा रहे हैं। जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, माननीय कोर्ट ने जो निर्देश दिए थे, लाउड स्पीकर जहाँ जहाँ पे लगे होने चाहिए और परिसरों के भीतर वहीं लगे, बाहर कहीं लगाए नहीं गए हैं। और जिन्होंने लगाए थे उन्होंने स्वयं अपनी स्वीकृति से उन्हें उतारा है। और
समझ जाऊंगा सर, जिस तरीके से हमने देखा ड्रोन से भी मॉनिटरिंग हो रही है, और क्या क्या अलग फोर्सेज यहाँ पे डिप्लॉय?
ड्रोन की मॉनिटरिंग इसलिए की जाती है कि हम ये एरियल व्यू मिलता है, इससे हमें ज्ञात हो जाता है कि किसी भी प्रकार के अवरोध मार्ग में तो नहीं है। यदि हैं तो उन्हें आइडेंटिफाई करके उन्हें हटाया जा सके, और यदि किसी भी प्रकार लोग अकारण कहीं इकट्ठे हो रहे हैं, असामाजिक तत्व कुछ कुकृत्य करने की चेष्टा कर रहे हो, तो वो भी चिन्हित किए जा सकें, उनके विरुद्ध कार्रवाई की जा सके। इसलिए शहर के विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में ड्रोन का भी उपयोग किया जा रहा है, आज किया जा रहा है, पहले भी जब कभी कोई त्यौहार या ऐसी स्थिति हुई तब किया जाता रहा है। और इसके अलावा हमने महिला पुलिस बल काफ़ी लगाया है। पिंक मोबाइल पर वो लोग लगातार पेट्रोलिंग कर रहे हैं। इसके अलावा पिंक स्कूटी पर, साथ ही पीएसी बल लगाया गया है। हमारे जो वज्र वाहन इत्यादि भी मौजूद हैं जहाँ जहाँ पर आवश्यकता है वहाँ पर। और पुलिस बल के साथ में सभी अधिकारी ऐसे सभी संवेदनशील इलाकों में मौजूद हैं जहाँ पर उनके रहने से मॉनिटरिंग बेहतर हो पा रही है, और लगातार प्रत्येक स्थिति पर नज़र रख रहे हैं।
बिल्कुल, तो आपने सुना जेसीपी येलो सर को, जिनका साफ तौर पे कहना है कि पुलिस लगातार किसी भी तरीके की धर्म त्यौहार हो उनको लेकर के अलर्ट पर रहती है, और पिछले दिनों चाहे हिंदू त्यौहार थे तब भी पुलिस अलर्ट पर थी। आज जुमे की नमाज को लेकर के
Getting in some pictures from Kolkata as well, getting in these pictures from Kolkata as we are hearing that these are protests that were carried out in Kolkata as well, and the police there in Bengal, in Kolkata, in what seems like a highway, the police taking stock of the situation,
there were protests in Howrah, Kolkata. We're getting in those pictures, getting in details, factual details of what we know so far. What we can tell you as of now is that these were protests in Kolkata. If I can go across to, I think this was in Howrah. This particular protest is from Howrah, we are being told, and we're trying to get more details from our correspondents in Kolkata, from the Republic Bangla team. But like we've been seeing across different cities like Saharanpur, New Delhi, Lucknow, Moradabad, Jammu, and these pictures now coming in from Kolkata. And these are pictures of protests where a large crowd had gathered, and the police having to control the situation there in Kolkata. And seems like there were attempts to protest and burn tires, etc., which was seen in some of the earlier pictures that also came in. But we are hearing that these are pictures from Howrah of the protest in the wake of the controversy over the comments that were made in some channels over the last weekend. Going back to Abhishek to just get in his view. This is a video of a flag march that was conducted in Howrah. A flag march in Howrah where the police and para forces are taking stock to ensure that the situation doesn't get out of hand. Abhishek.
Well, yes, Niranjan. So, as we were discussing earlier, these seem to be very coordinated protests. In fact, not just limited to Delhi and Uttar Pradesh, but spreading to Kolkata as well. In fact, just a while back, I was going through reports of massive protests taking place in the Jama Masjid of Dhaka, the biggest mosque of Bangladesh. So, this is turning out to be absolutely a communal thing. And it's unfortunate given the fact that police is already taking action. There is an effigy of Nupur Sharma that was found hanging at Fort Road area of Belagavi in Karnataka. And more pictures coming in. This is horrendous, and immediate calls for immediate action by the Karnataka police. And this just leaves one wondering where all this is heading to. These pictures of protests from across cities, cutting across states, clearly show an element of coordination and organization. And if the police has been told by religious leaders, by the imams, that they are not behind it, that they have not asked for it, and they have in fact denied permission, it calls for an investigation, a coordinated investigation between various state police. And these pictures from Howrah area of Kolkata, where protests have come in. Till now it seems these are controlled, and there seems to be adequate police presence to make sure that situation does not go out of hand. And in fact, I can tell you, Niranjan, that at least from the Jama Masjid, if you can go back to reporters, for example, if they can second this, that some of the protesters have already started leaving from Jama Masjid after police coordinated with the protest leaders and the religious leaders. What is important is, and the latest input coming in, that the situation has been brought under control. This is about Kolkata in the Howrah neighborhood, and situation under control, like in other places as well. As Zafar Sareshwala was mentioning, Niranjan, it's a democracy and they have a right to protest. What we are discussing is when police is already taking action, and those who have made those intemperate comments from both the sides have been booked. Investigation is going on. Why make a spectacle of some kind of angst which can be restrained till the time police completes its investigation? And that was my question when these fresh visuals came in and we had to go there. Hopefully some response would come in. Niranjan.
Yeah. So Abhishek, stay with us. In fact, we're getting in more and more pictures from different cities across India. Being very, very responsible in what we are showing and what we are putting out. It's very important for everyone to stay calm at this point and just, ensure that things don't get out of hand. And I think complete focus in every city, whether it's Jama Masjid, Delhi, or Saharanpur, Uttar Pradesh, Bhadarwah in Jammu, or in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, or Moradabad, Uttar Pradesh, and you just saw the pictures that came in from Kolkata. Very, very important, critical for everyone to maintain calm. And as far as action goes, there has been action taken over the weekend. Just to give our viewers, a sense of all the action that have been taken. 32 people have faced an FIR across religions, across communities. 31 people have faced FIRs, have been named in the Delhi Police FIR. And these pictures that came in earlier were protests that erupted outside the Jama Masjid after Friday prayers, with hundreds of people demanding the arrest of the suspended BJP spokesman for controversial remarks on the Prophet. A large crowd could also be seen gathering at the steps of the mosque, some carrying placards, shouting slogans. The Shahi Imam of the Jama Masjid said that he doesn't know who's protesting. It could be AIMIM. He said it on record. I think we're getting in more reactions. Just to tell you that the Shahi Imam of Jama Masjid has said that he's not sure. He's not sure who these protesters were, saying that there were no permissions given, saying that it could have been AIMIM people who were protesting. And these pictures are coming in from Belagavi in Karnataka, where I think that's an effigy of Nupur Sharma hanging from a wire. Extremely dangerous to even try that and get there and do this. I mean, it's situation. Abhishek, this is disturbing because situation shouldn't have come to this, because there is a law and order process in this country. Law is taking its course. An FIR has been filed, and despite that, attempts now being made to try and escalate the situation.
Well, exactly, Niranjan. So, as I was mentioning, it needs a coordinated investigation by police forces cutting across state jurisdictions to see who is behind these protests. Remember, the coordinated manner in which the Middle East countries came out with statements and comments, there was definitely an element of coordination. Was there some prodding from India in terms of asking these governments to weigh in? There is definitely the role of Pakistan, and that's why we came out with a strong statement condemning Pakistan's meddling in internal affairs. Half of the hashtags or more were being trended from across the border when it comes to the Prophet comments controversy. And since then, these pictures of effigy of Nupur Sharma hanging in Belagavi, Karnataka, is horrendous to say the least. I think the culprits should be brought to book at the soonest. And the Karnataka police should make sure that this does not repeat. This goes beyond the freedom of expression, and this goes beyond the remit of democratic rights, and this is incitement to murder, Niranjan, and that's relevant section of the IPC should be incorporated in the FIR that the Belagavi police should be filing at the earliest. I think a strict response, a strict action is the only way that you can contain this situation. And these fresh pictures now coming in from Prayagraj in Uttar Pradesh. So the protests essentially spreading across districts, across states, and across jurisdictions. Began with the Delhi's Jama Masjid, which the Shahi Imam clearly denied having any role. Even that statement perhaps now needs to be looked into. But then spreading to towns of Western Uttar Pradesh, then onwards to Kolkata, and the pictures from Belagavi in Karnataka, and now these fresh pictures coming in from Prayagraj in Uttar Pradesh, in eastern Uttar Pradesh, where these protesters coming out and sloganeering, as can be seen after Friday prayers. So these are political protests and seem to be coordinated. And if there is no proper investigation, then this can become a weekly Friday affair. And these protests are dangerous, and police needs to coordinate, cutting across state jurisdictions, to make sure that they go to the bottom of who was organizing them. There is definitely an element of incitement, there is an element of provocation, there is an element of coordination, there is an element of organization, and there would be a trail to be investigated, both in terms of phone calls made when you organize something of this scale, you coordinate, you send WhatsApp messages. I think this would be a very comprehensive investigation that would need to be looked into. Niranjan.
Yes, and we had pictures that came in from Kolkata a short while back and from Saharanpur, where the police tried to ensure that some of the protesters were dispersed. Those were pictures that came from Saharanpur. And these are pictures from Prayagraj in Uttar Pradesh, where a few clashes also erupted, is what we are hearing. And in Karnataka, you had that disturbing image of an effigy being hung, and situation. Similar protests being seen in different cities across India. Saharanpur, whether it's Saharanpur, Moradabad, Deoband, Lucknow, or in Kolkata, in Howrah, a similar protest being seen, and we're getting you these pictures from across the country, factually reporting what is happening. And we're also hearing that as far as Delhi is concerned, legal action will be taken, is what the DCP of the Central District is saying. These are details that we're picking up. Breaking news details, Abhishek, now coming into our newsroom right now, that the Delhi police has said legal action will be taken. Sharing the details with the viewers as well, the DCP of Central District of Delhi has said almost 1,500 people had gathered for the Friday prayers. After the prayers, nearly 300 people came out, started to protest over inflammatory remarks. Within 10 to 15 minutes, we managed to bring the situation under control. Protests were done on the street without any permission, so legal action will be taken, is what the police is saying against the protests in Delhi's Jama Masjid. Abhishek, any more updates that you're picking up?
Well, Niranjan, investigation would be carried out in these protests as well, is what we are getting to hear. And sources tell us that the fact that the establishment has made it amply clear that in a society like ours, there is no question of not respecting religions and prophets, and action has been taken. What is important is that it should not be turned into a one-sided debate. We cannot forget the comments that provoked Nupur Sharma. We cannot forget the comments that have been made by Zakir Naik. We cannot forget the entire MF Hussain episode, and we cannot forget the manner, the flippancy with which the entire Gyanvapi controversy was being dealt with by one side. So I think this is going to be a long drawn affair in terms of investigations, in terms of a dialogue, and this is not going to end soon. Let's listen into the ADG Law and Order of Uttar Pradesh, Prashant Kumar, and then continue. Niranjan.
आज पूर्णतया शांति है, सभी जगह लगातार लोग भ्रमणशील हैं और बहुत सारी जगहों पे जुमे की नमाज सकुशल संपन्न हो चुकी है। कुछ जगहों पर वो समय के हिसाब से चीज़ें चल रही हैं और व्यापक पुलिस प्रबंध कराए गए हैं। लगभग 130 कंपनी पीएससी के डिप्लॉयड हैं और हमारे सारे अधिकारी और मजिस्ट्रेट्स लगातार भ्रमणशील हैं और सोशल मीडिया की मॉनिटरिंग भी चल रही है। साथ साथ ये भी देखा जा रहा है कि कोई जानबूझ के माहौल को ख़राब न करे, धर्म गुरुओं के द्वारा भी इस पूरे प्रकरण में बहुत ही सहयोग मिला है। उन लोगों ने जगह जगह पे शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से नमाज संपन्न कराने हेतु सबसे अपील की है। इसका बहुत अच्छा असर है।
And these are details now coming in of the action that will be taken in Delhi. We also have the reaction coming in from the Delhi police, where the Delhi police DCP of Central District has said almost 1,500 people had gathered in the Jama Masjid for the Friday prayers, and after the prayers, nearly 300 people came out and started to protest over inflammatory remarks by Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal. Within 10 to 15 minutes, we managed to bring the situation under control. Protests were done on the street without any permission, so legal action will be taken, is what the police has said on record. Here's the police speaking to the media.
आज जैसे कि जुमे की नमाज होती है, फ्राइडे प्रेयर जो होती है, इसके लिए वहाँ पे गैदरिंग थी। मस्जिद के अंदर करीब 1500 के लगभग लोग थे। जब ये प्रेयर ख़त्म हुई, नमाज ख़त्म होने के बाद कुछ लोग सीढ़ियों पर ही इकट्ठा हो गए और वहीं से ग्रुप बना के बाहर आए। बाहर कुछ लोग उनमें आके मिले, उन्होंने फिर कुछ प्लेकार्ड्स दिखाए हैं और एलिजिडली जो कमेंट्स हुए थे, जो नूपुर और नवीन ने जो किए थे, वो उनके बारे में जो कमेंट्स थे उसके अगेंस्ट ये लोग प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे थे। लगभग 300-350 के करीब एक टाइम पे गैदरिंग हो गई थी, लेकिन शांतिपूर्वक रहा है और 10-15 मिनट के अंदर ही हमने इस पर काबू पा लिया और भीड़ को जो है वहाँ से हटा दिया गया।
मैम, क्या कोई डिटेन भी किया गया है? क्योंकि जिस तरह से ये लोग इकट्ठा हो गए थे और जामा मस्जिद में ही प्रोटेस्ट करने लगे, तो क्या कोई हिरासत में भी लिया गया?